Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of In Lay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and we have back with us our previous guest and my good friend, Mr. Gilles Bourgeois. How are you doing, Gilles?
I'm very good. Thank you very much, Payman.
Gilles, keeping up the tradition. The last time you gave me like 50 hours of homework. This time you gave me 50 hours of homework.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to try to do better next time.
No, it's okay. I'm just
Mm,
glad you came on.
mm.
Um, Gilles, why don't in case people didn't watch the last episode, can you just tell us a little about
Sure.
yourself?
Yeah, my name is Gilles Bourgeois. It's a very French name, but I was born and raised in Western Canada and in Saskatchewan. I'm a farmer's son, and when I grew up, I went to college. I became an engineer. I went to college in Saskatoon, and the education was very good in those days. I became a very good engineer, and I ended up working for a major international oil company starting off in Canada. And after a couple of years, I earned the opportunity to begin an expat assignment, and that was way back in 1992. And ever since 1992, I left Canada and I became an expatriate engineer. And I worked in the Netherlands, in Holland, in Australia, spent a lot of years in Malaysia and back in Europe again, in Holland, in Romania, and in Denmark. And now I'm not working anymore, and I live in Italy with my beautiful Italian Roman goddess, and that's the main reason why I'm here in Italy.
Yeah, your Achilles heel is still beautiful women, I take it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. It's really nice here. I really love Italy a lot, but it took me way too long to discover it. But yeah, I like it here. It's difficult to learn the language, but it's a very nice place. People sh- people you'll after watching this presentation, you'll see some beautiful pieces of artwork and some theory, and I hopefully people will be encouraged to come to Italy and visit some of the beautiful things that there are here to see, because it's a magnificent laboratory for anybody who's interested in history and philosophy and what drives society. What causes history to happen.
I'll try to drive some of my audience to partake in tourism in Italy. We'll
Mm.
help boost your
Yeah, it's
economy
by
there.
far the best place in Europe to come and visit if you're going to visit Europe, by far. Yeah,
It's a beautiful country.
yeah,
Um, Gilles, let's we have a series of slides set up. Can you tell the audience what the purpose of these slides are, and then we'll get started?
yeah. Okay, well, I want to help people to understand some basic science and physics. Yeah, why the whole greenhouse effect theory is actually a religion. It's not correct. It's a major deception that fools a lot of smart people, even. Um, and uh, and uh, and also, what's going on in the world right now is something that's happened before, a long time in the past. Uh, I think it's extremely dangerous, but it's not insurmountable. Yeah, and we could win over what happened by making ourselves individually smarter. Yeah, and this is, yeah, I'm an engineer by profession, and I'm a historian philosopher by hobby, and I do what I can to make people better and stronger for what we're going through right now.
Uh, as I was as I get to know you and as I was reading the slides, I thought it was like the perfect nexus of the two schools of thought of philosophy and engineering, and both of those you're really good at. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, the sciences, the STEM fields are supposed to be based on logic, but they're all being corrupted. And yeah, so I just want to make one thing clear: I'm not a climate change denier. Yeah, I'm the climate changes. That's 100% true. But it's more accurate to call me a greenhouse effect denier. Yeah, the greenhouse effect is an anti-science. It's something that's going to destroy science if we allow it to happen. And I want to present tonight, yeah, the foundations of the Enlightenment, yeah, of Western civilization, what created all of the valid science that we know today, and hopefully more people join me in my crusade in preserving Western civilization and all the wonderful things about it.
So, some points of housekeeping. This is going to be a longer episode, 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask, and I'll put them forward to Gilles. And I'm going to keep an eye on the YouTube icon just to see when they're going to cut us off. I'll let you
Okay.
know when they do. All right.
Yeah, you know, for the social media is not friendly to me at all. Yeah, I'm cut off from LinkedIn, Twitter. I was wiped off of it for canned from it for 4 years. And then I got back in with Elon Musk, took it over, made it into X, and then just recently they kicked me off again. Yeah, because I some stupid thing. Yeah, for being what's for harassment and abuse, but I didn't do any harassment and abuse. Yeah, there's somebody that just doesn't like me, and they're doing everything they can to erase me. So that's just the reality that we live in.
Well, if you're not, what's that saying? If you're not getting canceled, you're doing something wrong. So you're doing
Yeah,
everything right.
yeah. So I've been getting a lot of flack. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I
Well,
hope
good
everything
luck.
we present tonight is it's actually very straightforward. Uh, I'm an objectivist. Yes, I promote the philosophy of Ayn Rand, and what I'm giving you tonight is kind of a summary about what it's all about, and hopefully more people become a little bit more interested in. Yeah, it's a re-enlightenment philosophy, and I think it has a huge chance of success. Yeah, but it'll take time. But each one of us, one at a time, has to change our mind. Yeah, and practice making use of our own senses and our own mind, and coming up with our own positions on things. Yeah, moral positions on things.
All right, let's get
Yeah.
this Death by PowerPoint show on the road.
Okay.
And we got our first comment before we get started. Good morning. Thanks for sharing the truth. So you have a fan, not just
Yeah,
haters.
great.
You have fans.
Good, good. Yeah.
All right, you take it away. You tell me when you want me to go to the next slide.
Okay. Well, okay. I just tried to make a quick outline here. Yeah. So it's largely about climate science, but I'm also going to include the counter enlightenment ideology that we're all being infected with. Yeah. And this is a counter enlightenment that's occurred just after the real enlightenment that took place in our history. Yeah, the success of Western civilization. I'll go through some geological history. Yeah, from the dinosaurs to the present. Yeah, so basically the temperature history of the Earth since before the dinosaurs to the present day. Yeah, and I think a lot more people are starting to realize what this is. I'm an engineer, and I'm very qualified to speak about the laws of energy. Yeah, the about thermodynamics. Yeah, I spent 30 years of my career applying thermodynamic principles in engineering design. So I'm very articulate in this topic. Um, a little bit about energy absorption. So this is a little bit of physics, but it's not that advanced, and I'm pretty sure I'm able to explain it in simple enough terms that even non-engineers, non-scientists can understand. On the pictures here, on the right, there's some pictures of what Earth convection cells are, and also the evaporation and condensation of the big clouds that they're high in the sky. And these are super important processes that are completely ignored by the greenhouse effect theory. Yeah, yeah. So these are kind of the key concepts. Yeah, and I want to finish, yeah, by something very positive. Yeah, yeah. So for re-enlightenment, yeah, to let the sunshine back into your life. Yeah, this is a lot to do about the sun and its power, and how it's being made irrelevant behind this whole climate scam. We're good on the
You got
next
a
slide.
you got a bumper sticker right there. Let the sun shine into your life.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. That's a great bumper sticker for sure. So, I mean, this view graph you're going to see a lot of times because we're being bombarded by sophistry and so many things. And so, so sophistry basically is making use of half truths to make a distortion of reality. Yeah, it's closely related to gaslighting. Yeah, and I think a lot of people now know what it's like to be gaslighted by our institutions, by our politicians, by our so-called leaders. So whenever you see this slide come up, I'm going to be describing a big lie that's being told to us, and hopefully in a way that gives you power to just ignore it, or to ignore the lie, or to be able to counter it with better arguments, or better actions. Yeah. So yeah, by disseminating this knowledge, I hope to make people more powerful against the major demoralization campaign that's going on, and it's all around the world. Any questions?
Yeah, so just an example of sophistry would be like the climate is getting warmer, like the Earth is getting warmer, which is the true part, and then they use that as a jumping off point to the false
Exactly.
part, which is humans are
Yeah.
causing it to get warmer.
Well, yeah, and another thing, all of us, especially those of us in the West, those of us have been raised as Christians, for example, we're terribly vulnerable to undeserved guilt. Yeah, and they're using that to the max. Yeah, to promote, to make you feel guilty. Yeah, for alleged bad things that are happening. The reality is, though, any warming, we're actually in an ice age, and any global warming is actually a wonderful blessing.
Sounds good. Next slide.
Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the big slides I made that you split up, and we're going to explain in detail. So I won't spend too much time because we're going to go into the next slides and explain it in a little bit more detail. But this is what I'm expressing here is the heart, or the strategy of the counter enlightenment. Yeah. So basically, it's a major demoralization campaign. Yeah. It's about doomsday, and if you don't believe, you want to kill grandma. Yeah. And if you try to think for yourself, you're a denier. This stuff we've all been going through for a good 10 years or more now. Yeah. Yeah. So and another point I want to make here as well too, as and I think most of you are aware of the history of the 20th century. Yeah, the First and Second World Wars, the Soviet communism, and the communism in China and other places, and the hundreds of millions of people that have been killed. Yeah, yeah, this is all a result of counter enlightenment philosophy. So in spite of Hitler's Germany being defeated, and in spite of the fall of the Soviet Union, and in spite of all of our knowledge we know about the failure of the socialist ideologies, yeah, the reason why it still has all this power is because we're still being bombarded by this counter enlightenment philosophy. Yeah, so an important part of my message today will be about what this counter enlightenment is.
Sorry, playing around with different boxes. Should we keep
Okay,
going?
no worries. Yeah, keep on going. Yeah, so I really like this slide that Payman made for me. So basically, the terminology. Yeah, so there's the terminology of metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Yeah, so metaphysics is the most basic branch of all philosophy, and basically, metaphysics is what we choose as belief about the nature of the universe. Yeah, so these are beliefs that we each adopt, and it's actually a choice. Yeah, so it's up to you to choose whether or not you think the mystery is the universe is a big mystery that's unknowable, or you can also choose to believe that the universe is ruled by natural laws, yeah, that are absolute, they're stable, firm, and most important of all, they are knowable. Yeah, and epistemology follows on from that. Yeah, is basically the theory and the practice of how we know what the nature of the universe is. Yeah, how do we make use of our senses? How do we make use of our minds? Yeah, or and yeah, and then this is a highly, probably the most important topic of all, because this is where the counter enlightenment attacks. Yeah, using either religious faith or using consensus groupthink. Yeah, you all know the 98% consensus. Yeah, that's a very diseased epistemology, the theory and practice of knowledge, how we learn. And then following that is ethics. Yeah, what we ought to do is a matter of choice. Yeah, and that's yeah, crucial point of philosophy of all. So a lot of times you'll hear me say the words metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics, and that's a really important terminology that I'd like for more people to become comfortable with.
So yeah, I'm just going to recap that: metaphysics, the real world; epistemology, gaining new knowledge; ethics, doing what's right or wrong.
Yes, pretty well. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Next slide.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So uh, this is an outline of what enlightenment means. Yeah, and I like to. I'm going to repeat this message. Let the sun shine into your life. Yeah, because that's what enlightenment is about. Yeah. So in the Enlightenment, yeah, it's a metaphysics of a single reality integrated universe that has always existed and forever will, and is ruled by natural laws that are absolute, stable, firm, and noble. Yeah, so that's you got to start from that metaphysical base. Yeah, and in all of our religious traditions, yeah, there's a completely different metaphysics. Yeah, it's a dual reality metaphysics, and and right off the bat, yeah, we start off on the wrong foot with all of our religious traditions. Yeah, so that's kind of going to be a tough point for a lot of people. Yeah, but that's just the way it is. But that's what the reality is about the Enlightenment. Yeah, yeah, and in the Enlightenment, yeah, we have an epistemology of active application of reason and logic upon our own common sense perceptions and the rejection of contradictions using our own mind. Yeah, so and one of the ways that the anti-enlightenment gets to us is making us believe that we can't believe our own eyes, our own ears, yeah, our own sense perceptions. Yeah, so that's what the gaslighting is all about. Yeah, making you not believe your own eyes and your own mind even. And um and the, and and lastly, most important of all, the ethics of rational egoism. Yeah, so most people believe, yeah, that being selfish is the root of all evil. Yeah, so people are criticized. Politicians like Justin Trudeau are called selfish. The reality is the opposite is true. He's selfless. Yeah, he's somebody who sold his soul, yeah, to cling on to his power lust. And the same is true of a lot of other despots. Yeah, it seems like they're egoistic, but it's actually the opposite. They're totally dependent upon other people, yeah, to exist parasitically off of other people. Yeah, and they're basically selfless people without a self. Yeah, people who've sold their soul. Their sense of ethics and anything that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna clip that out and play that. But
Mm.
do you want to go to the other one before I think the next one is anti-enlightenment,
Sure.
and then
Sure.
we can jump back and compare and contrast.
Sure. Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, so this is the anti-enlightenment. Yeah, and this is very ancient. It goes back to before recorded history. Yeah, so and I think most people think that it's pretty obvious, but why it exists today is because it makes use of extensive sophistry. Yeah, and I talked about sophistry a little bit before. Yeah, where people take advantage of your lack of familiarity in certain topics that are very important and make you believe the opposite of what is true. Yeah, and that's a really good way to make whole societies crazy. Yeah, and this is what happened in the Soviet Union, what happened in Germany. Yeah, an advanced intelligent society. Yeah, brought into total stupidity. Yeah, because of these counter enlightenment. Yeah, this counter enlightenment. So counter
Gilles,
enlightenment.
is this an example of sophistry, saying that somewhere out there might be some parent that might be harming their children, therefore the state should supersede all parents' rights?
I think that's I don't think it's that's no, that's not so. I don't think that's quite a sophistry, but it's another kind of fallacy. Yeah, it's another kind of evil. Yeah, but it's not quite sophistry. Sophistry is when you try to make people believe the opposite of what is true. Yeah, you make them believe something that's just not right. So maybe there's a little bit of a parallel or an overlap in a Venn diagram. Yeah, but also I'm kind of anal when it comes to defining various concepts as well. So yeah, but on that topic, yeah, all children, any living being, any living human being has unalienable rights, yeah, and that should be the purpose of government, to protect those rights, yeah. But at the same time, yeah, parents have a natural jurisdiction over their children as well. Yeah. So if you can demonstrate a case where a child isn't being properly taken care of by their natural parents, then perhaps I think the government should do something. Yeah, because you got to protect the rights of the child. You know,
Right.
but that okay, but that's just, yeah, it's a bit of a side topic.
Carry on. You were on epistemology.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, counter alignment. Yeah. So I'll start with the metaphysics. Dual reality, physical, spiritual universe that is chaotic, mystical, and unknowable, where the mystical is more real than reality itself. Yeah. So I think we see a lot of examples of that. Yeah. And, well, you'll see an example of exactly this when I explain why the greenhouse effect theory is actually a religion. Yeah, it's not it's not real. And but and I think most people who not understand what I mean by this dual reality, physical, spiritual. You're basically separating the mind from reality, and that's the first step towards total disaster. And then following, then you have an epistemology of faith, trust, and obedience, yeah, to medicine men quacks, yeah. And you must believe in order to know. Yeah, just think of what we had to go through with Dr. Fauci, and what occurred to people, to really smart, qualified people who countered him. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
trust the science.
Trust the science, yeah, and what they really mean is have faith in the religion, or else you're a heretic. Yeah, it's a kind of return to a medieval theocracy. Yeah, yeah, and then lastly, yeah, and ethics, the morality of humility and altruism. Yeah, the self-hatred and self-sacrifice. Yeah, that you are worth nothing. You exist for the sake of all others. Yeah, wear your mask to protect others. Take the shot, yes, to protect others. Yeah, and that's basically the essence of the counter enlightenment that we're confronting today. Yeah, and all of this is can be defeated, yeah, relatively easily. Yeah, assuming, providing you have some of the information that I'm trying to disseminate here with payment.
So I'm
And
just going to what do we got? We got for the Enlightenment. You got a single reality that's knowable,
yeah,
whereas the counter Enlightenment, the reality is unknowable. It's mystical.
yeah, well, you have a dual reality. You have the real world, you have the physical world, which is less important than the imaginary, mystical, utopian world that exists in your mind, in your imagination.
Right, and I know a little bit about philosophy, but we're not talking about only Christianity. Like this could be
No.
climate change. You're going to
Yes.
net zero paradise, or
Yes. Absolutely.
socialism. You're going to communist paradise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely correct. Yeah. So I
And
mean, yeah, it doesn't just apply to religion. Yeah, to our religious traditions. Yeah, but our ancient religious traditions made us vulnerable to modernized secular types of religions.
that's an interesting term, secular religion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's basically exactly what we're talking about here. Yeah, it's a secular religion of the greenhouse theory. Yeah, the flat Earth called sun religion.
And then epistemology, which is how you learn things. With enlightenment, it was you use your reason, your mind, your ability to think.
Mm.
Whereas counter enlightenment is just trust me, bro. Trust the
Yes,
science.
obey, and you must believe in order to know. Believe. Yeah, yeah. Well, I gotta hang on a second. I have to open my door here for just a
Go
second.
ahead.
I gotta leave for a second.
Wolf, I see your questions. I'm going to get to them in a moment.
Sorry,
I might pick one. You always write these massive novels. I can't read them all.
Stella, Stella, where is she? Or maybe Theo took her out. Maybe Theo took her out. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I'm in a conference. I have to go back to the conference.
Don't worry, just go.
Okay.
Don't worry. You will.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I just we're on to the last one. I'm just going to take us off. So ethics, maybe if you can explain this one. So I'm going to try, but it's rational egoism is basically like be selfish, think about your loved ones, yourself, start from the individual level. Whereas in
Mm.
counter enlightenment, it's altruism, like you have to sacrifice for the needs of whoever.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, what altruism means is that you're prioritizing the needs of all others above yourself. Yeah, and we're sold, we're made to believe that this is equivalent to as care, and kindness and goodwill and benevolence to your fellow man. Yeah, but it's the opposite of that. Yeah, if you love everybody, you can love nobody. Yeah, you basically, yeah, you kill yourself. It's a form of suicide.
I think let's switch over to this. I think if we're going to dismantle, let's just call it collectivism, somehow we have to come up with a better argument for that, because right now when you say, being altruistic, like thinking about the needs of others, everyone's like, oh yeah, that's a great thing, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but there's absolutely everything wrong with it. It's altruism. Yeah, when you think about it, when you focus your mind on what it actually means, yeah, it's actually an ethic of human sacrifice. Yeah, disguised as care, goodwill, and benevolence to your fellow man. Yeah, and that's a particularly bad thing. Yeah, especially in Christianity, but it exists in the entirety of the whole Abrahamic tradition as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the sacrifice is, I think you and I talked about this.
Mm.
It's rooted in Christianity, right? The sacrifice.
Well, I would say it's rooted in primitive tribal cannibal savages, yeah, that routinely performed human sacrifice, and humanity has never really grown out of it, yeah. And even during the time of Plato, when Plato was around, he wasn't a well, he believed in asceticism. He certainly didn't believe in human sacrifice, but because he created this very systematic, logical, but mystically based philosophy, he enabled, unwittingly enabled, the practice of human sacrifice to continue on for thousands of years after his existence. Yeah.
I'd say Plato, he was logically sound but fundamentally flawed.
Fundamental, yeah, yeah. And during Plato's time, he was confronted by the sophists. Yeah, so it's another Greek cult, and we're talking a lot about sophistry. Yeah, but basically, the sophists, yeah, were people who basically sold their services to politicians, and they were power hungry. Yeah, they were utter subjectivists. Yeah, they believed knowledge was impossible, that you can make up any shit that you want. Yeah, and anything true or good was just based on how you feel. Yeah, that man is the measure of all things. Yeah, that whatever you believe, whatever whim and wish that you felt, yeah, that was reality. That was the true. That was the good. And you can make up any shit that you want, yeah, to fool anybody to get whatever you want. Yeah. And Socrates, Plato were very deeply challenged by these, and they tried very hard to defeat them using reason. But well, and Plato especially, but he basically failed. Yeah, he became corrupted by them and became one of them. Yeah, in the end.
Sounds a lot like what's going on today, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I mean that to a long certain degree characterizes today's conservatives. Yeah, whether they're Republican or conservatives in Canada or in other places, they're highly vulnerable to power lust and having power over other people, and they'll say and do anything, yeah, to give themselves an illusion of having a moral superiority. Yeah, that people should choose them.
So I don't know if you can read this. One more godless woman says that's the definition of woke.
Yes, exactly. Precisely. It's a very good comment, actually. Yeah.
Gilles, I'm just going to read one more comment and then we'll continue on.
Mm.
Wolf is a really smart guy. Your guest, Payman, is softly introducing your audience to an ancient cult among human beings with its origins in astrotheology. It is Illuminism, and it is a parasitic, syncretic system that utilizes adaptive camouflage. He wrote this actually before you used these words like parasitic, but I guess you
Mm,
guys are
mm,
in agreement.
mm. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it wasn't until one of Plato's students, yeah, Aristotle, which we're probably going to get into a little bit today, that basically, came up with reasoning that destroys the sophists. Yeah. So, and then that's an important thing to know. That's why people should be interested in Aristotle. Even though he was flawed, he came up with a lot of really good stuff. And if you want to learn more about where Aristotle went wrong, then you have to learn about Ayn Rand and objectivism. Yeah, but getting to objectivism through Aristotle, I think, makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun. Yeah, and
Yeah, I
it's
really liked learning about him. I thought it was easy.
yeah.
All right, well let's power on, Gilles. What's going on here?
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said when the last time we met, yeah, communism, or let's say fascism, is essentially communism, but for the advanced industrialized society with a large middle class. Yeah, and as we know, we know that Hitler's Germany was defeated. We know that Soviet Union crashed, but we still remain vulnerable because this counter enlightenment lives on, and this counter enlightenment is living on, yeah, largely because of our educational institutions, yeah. So a lot of university professors, yeah, are people who don't have to produce value in order to live, yeah. People who are basically dependent on government welfare, yeah, that educate our children. They're the main reason, I argue, why this counter enlightenment continues on.
All right. Next slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so and basically it's done through this apocalyptic fear mongering. Yeah, fear mongering is, and especially among our kids and our youth. Yeah, can you imagine that? Yeah, it just it makes me so angry. Yeah, I want to go to war. Yeah, because of this. Yeah, but this has gone on, for millennia. Yeah, this peddling of apocalyptic pornography. Yeah, and I know it because being here in Italy, I see the evidence that it has existed. Oh, somebody's ringing my door again. Excuse me for a
No
second.
worries. Go ahead. Beware esoteric Gnosticism, or what I call Illuminism, the parasitic cult system of domination and bamboozlement. You sound just like Gilles. It's hodgepodge of all these fancy words.
Yeah. Then my wife went out and people are answering the door, and I have to answer it, calling my door, and I
It's
have to
okay.
answer.
It's okay, Gilles. I have a family too, and my parents constantly come in the middle of a meeting. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Um, I was going to mention, if we keep going down this road of climate change activism, they're going to start throwing virgins into volcanoes at some
Yeah,
point.
absolutely, absolutely. But this is not anything new. This is something very ancient, and it's happened countless times before in history. Yeah. So this is something people need to be aware of. Yeah, we're being gaslighted by moronic savages. Yeah, and we have to find the courage to mock them. Yeah, and to criticize them and make fools out of them. Yeah, and I hope to give people the tools and the weapons to do exactly that.
All right, let's see what we got next.
Yeah, so I mean that's just the messaging. Yeah, people read this. Is there anything that's contradictory in this message? The kind of messaging that's been given to us, yeah, by the climate cult. Yeah, the apocalypse is nigh. Believe authority without question, or you're a denier. Don't think for yourself. Yeah, yeah. Be
Yeah,
obedient instead. Yeah, I
I
mean,
like
I
this one. You're
don't.
an evil CO2 spouting, disease carrying sinner.
Sinner. Yeah, I mean, they're basically leveraging our vulnerability to undeserved guilt. And then there's numerous instances of exactly that. Like in Canada, like this. That's the thing with the residential schools. Yeah, trying to make Canadians believe that they're a genocidal country. Yeah, yeah, it's just an exploitation of a vulnerability to undeserved guilt. Yeah, yeah, and I know I think people can read all of this themselves, but that's basically what's being fed to us, and it's not something new. Yeah, it's something that's existed for a very long time, and it's occurred time and over again. We just need to be more aware of it and be prepared to counter it.
Right.
Yeah.
Before continuing, Wolf was asking if you use Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, well, I have an X handle, yeah, Gillis and Feel, but I've been canned.
All right.
I've been
We'll
canned from
we'll
it.
let we'll
I'm
let you
sorry,
know if
I'd
you
like to
ever.
have, I get followers, but yeah, they can me for really poor reason, yeah, and it's difficult for me. I don't know how to explain it.
It's a risky business, spreading
Yeah.
the truth.
Mm,
All right. What do we
mm.
have here?
Okay, so this is one of the slides I made that you broke up into a little bit more detail. Yeah, but the one message I want to tell everybody here is that the separation of one's senses begins by defying reality. Yeah, so yeah, well, becoming senseless, yeah, begins the moment you stop being honest with yourself and what you know. Yeah, and 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 this is basically what's happening, especially to people in academia that are pushing this stuff. Yeah, they've become completely senseless and mindless. Yeah.
All right.
So I put a lot of information into this graph, but let's go to the next one where you break it down into a little bit more detail. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the people are trying to convince you that your eyes are lying to you. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just repeat again: the separation of oneself from his senses begins by defying reality. Yeah, and this is the one mortal vice there really is in this world. Yeah, this mysticism. Yeah, and in the case of the climate cult, they're basically trying to make you believe that the sun is not relevant. Yeah, the sun is the source of all of the energy that drives the atmosphere of the earth, and they're trying to make you believe that that's not true. That plant food is the actual major force. Yeah. And then we have other dimensions, where people are denying the sex, the objective reality of biology about the sex of people. Uh, yeah, or that that parents have a natural jurisdiction over their own children, and all of this is driven by a motive, yeah, to destroy real world values. Yeah, it's nihilism. Yeah,
So
nihilism.
I'm gonna recap and rephrase what you said. The
Okay.
great lie of the climate change movement is that the sun isn't driving climate change; it's plant food.
Yeah, pretty well. Essentially, that's essentially it. Yeah, that the sun is weak, and that the plant food is strong. Yeah, and we create plant food, and it's your fault that you're destroying the world. Yeah, yeah.
This is gold. Yeah. All right, let's go to the next slide.
Mm. Yeah. So
I
okay,
did this.
here comes a piece of sophistry. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So I like to call the greenhouse effect the flat Earth, cold sun religion, and here is the reason why. Yeah, so we all know that the Earth is spherical and it rotates. Yeah, but what the flat Earth, cold sun religion does is they assume that you to do an energy balance, you have to assume that the sun shines across the area of the whole sphere all at once. Yeah, so a way to do that, yeah, is to divide the power of the sun by 4, yeah, so that it gets an equalized amount of power across the whole surface of the Earth, the nighttime and the day side. Yeah, and so basically, and what this does in essence is create a flat Earth dogma. Yeah, and you can't just simply divide the power of the sun by 4. Yeah, because there's a non-linear relationship between the power and the corresponding temperature. Yeah, so in this real world, we have an actual hot sun. Yeah, and if you go out to outer space, yeah, on a SpaceX rocket, and you get out in the sun, you'll soon discover that you're getting cooked by 120 degrees of radiative power. Yeah, above the clouds. But by dividing the sun by 4 this way as an erroneous averaging technique, yeah, so dividing 1360 by 4, you get 340. 340 watts means that the sun is only being able to heat up to 5 degrees temperature, yeah, above the top of the clouds. Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a very big error, and I really caused a shitstorm when I started posting this picture. Yeah.
Probably why you got banned.
Yeah, that's possibly true. Yeah, that's possibly true. Yeah, and then you have albedo. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about albedo. So basically, the clouds and other things reflect some of the sunlight back that doesn't heat the earth. So after the albedo, yeah, you go from 340 watts per meter square to about 240. Yeah, and 240 watts per meter square is a heating potential of only minus 18 degrees C. Yeah. So basically, what they're trying to tell you, yeah, is if you go out on the equator or on the average everywhere on the world, the sun is only giving you an average heating potential equivalent to what's north and south of the Arctic and Antarctic circles, respectively. Yeah.
I guess they're setting the stage for greenhouse effect is the only reason that we're alive.
Basically, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. So when the sun is only minus 18 degrees C and the average surface temperature is 15 degrees C, yeah, you have to come up with an extra 33 degrees of you got to come up with the energy necessary to come up with an extra 33 degrees C of temperature. Yeah. So yeah. So they create 150 watts per meter square. Yeah. Out of nowhere. Yeah, through complex circumlocution. Yeah, they create these graphs with arrows going up and down and forth, and it's very difficult to make sense of it. But in reality, it's just total nonsense. Yeah,
All right.
so you're
Should we?
creating energy from nothing, and in addition to that, yeah, you're having energy transferring from the cold upper atmosphere to the warmer lower atmosphere. Yeah, so this is a violation of each the first and second laws of thermodynamics.
Oh, where it goes the other way, it goes from hot bodies to cold.
No, well, yeah, in nature, yeah, energy only disperses, yeah, from where it's concentrated to where it's more dispersed, yeah. And in that definition, we encompass the whole of the quantum effects as well too, yeah. Because like if, for example, when you go be high up in the stratosphere, the temperature actually gets higher. Yeah, and that's because uh, the that's because there's so few molecules, and they if they absorb any energy, they take off. They have a very high velocity. Yeah, but it's more dispersed energy, even though the temperature is higher. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's like superheated, but the average of it all is not that high.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's from yeah. So yeah, in a very general sense, energy only transfers from where it's concentrated to where it's mostly dispersed. And in a thermal environment like we exist here on in Earth's atmosphere, it's only from hot to cold, never from cold to hot.
Should I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Uh, all right. What is this one? I guess it's just repeating what you said, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so in the flat Earth, cold sun religion, I really hope people develop the habit of saying it this way: flat Earth, cold sun religion. Basically, we divided the sun by four. We made it a quarter of what it is in reality. Yeah. So we've taken reality and we've distorted it. Yeah, the equivalent to saying that girls are boys and boys are girls, and the other nonsense that we've been enduring. Yeah, so the whole thing, just because of this here, yeah, this is entire mystical dogma, and it's masquerading as science. And I'm just flabbergasted by a lot of actually smart people haven't realized this. Yeah,
This reminds me of what you said at the beginning, the counter Enlightenment
yeah,
metaphysics. Like there's no knowable
yeah,
single universe.
yeah.
Everything's in flux.
Everything is in flux, and anything basically is what you feel it should be. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the power of groupthink. Yeah, you can make, if other people are your colleagues and your friends are believing a certain thing, it's really, if you don't bother to focus and concentrate your own mind, yeah, you'll tend to just go along with them, yeah, and develop a position.
There's something actually even worse than that. Like they people get angry when someone believes something like a religion and
Yeah,
you tell them that their belief is wrong, they get angry.
yeah,
Like violently angry.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean that's the power. These metaphysical ideas. Yeah, we'll talk. We'll get into a little bit deeper again. Yeah, but these very deep-seated metaphysical ideas are a choice, and if you're not aware of what you've chosen for a very long time, yeah, then you start to get very defensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
And even much worse than that, yeah. And you get the extremes like Islamic jihadis, for example. Yeah, that's exactly the same sort of thing.
I was gonna say, like, the end result is like lynchings, like mob rule.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. So in this slide, I'm just elaborating. Yeah. Yeah. So in the religion, yeah, if you go on the internet and you look for Earth's energy balance, yeah, you'll find, probably without exception, yeah, a TOA of 340 and a net of albedo energy of 240 watts. Yeah. And 240 watts only means that the sun can heat the earth only to minus 18 degrees C. Yeah. And there's just no going around that. Yeah. So they invoke this magic energy creation and also magic energy concentration. And it's utter bullshit. Yeah. In the real world, yeah, above the clouds, yeah, the sun has a heating potential of 121 degrees C. After the clouds, yeah, if you go on the equator at noon and you put a very black surface and you put it in a vacuum, you have to protect it from the refrigeration effects of the atmosphere. Yeah, you'll eventually get up to a temperature of 88 degrees C. Yeah, which is pretty damn hot.
Oh, so you can actually prove this on Earth that this is not true.
Yeah, yeah. And also, if you look up for a temperature profile of the moon, yeah, the moon has moon day is 28 Earth days. Yeah, so it rotates very slowly, and the equator of the moon is facing the sun for a long time. And you go look it up. Yeah, you'll see the temperature in degrees Kelvin, but you just you just subtract 273 from the Kelvin value, and you'll see 120 degrees C on the equator of the moon during noontime. Yeah, and which
Yeah,
is
that's
quite a number of days. Yeah,
substantially higher than minus 18.
substantially higher than minus 18. Exactly.
So how is this a violation? Okay, what is Aristotle's law of non-contradiction?
So basically, the law of non-contradiction is that means that A can only be A, B can only be B. Yeah, A cannot. Basically, things are exactly what they are. They can't be anything else. Yeah, it's basic logic. Whenever we make an argument or make a proposition, if there's a contradiction in it, then we know that it's wrong. Yeah, that's always been the basis of logic for thousands of years. Yeah, and now that basic logic was something discovered by Aristotle, discovered and established by Aristotle. The law of non-contradiction, and it was further developed by objectivism into the law of identity. Yeah,
I
but
never understood this about Plato. Like how could you look at a flower and be like, well, that flower is not here because it's here. It's because there's a flower somewhere else, and this is the shadow of that. Like, how did he get to that conclusion? Was he doing acid?
no, it's because of the sophistry. And also he was deeply moved by the Pythagoreans. You've heard of the Pythagorean theorem, were
Yeah.
to measure the hypotenuse. Yeah. Well, the Pythagoreans were the first mathematicians, and they did some pretty incredible stuff, and they gave them a bit of credibility. I mean, they discovered how in music, yeah, that there were octaves in music, that there was a kind of a mathematical relationship. Yeah. So they believed that the universe was numbers, and they were very mystical. And Plato was very very heavily influenced by the Pythagoreans. I think Pythagoreans.
Pythagoreans.
Pythagoreans, yeah, that's right.
All right.
And
So
and
I guess
also,
here,
mm,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so here, the violation of Aristotle's law, rather than saying the sun has this much energy and it is, they're saying, well, somewhere out there's a climate change issue, so the sun must be wrong.
Well, no, it's just that they're perverting the use of math. Yeah, they you don't use math to distort our understanding of the universe. Yeah, you use math to improve your understanding of it. Yeah, and you can't just divide the sun by 4 and do this kind of shit. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not right. Yeah,
All
and
right.
then these are people that they're consumed by power lust, and they don't give a shit. Yeah, they just want to get their welfare check. Yeah, I'm guessing what's in their minds and their mindless minds and their empty souls. Yeah.
I think it's the case of they've been taught a religion. It goes back to what I said, like they believe these things and they've been taught to believe it. So they just promote it and they
Yeah.
don't
Well, their
question.
life depends. Their existence is depending on this now. Yeah.
I'm actually saying it's worse. Like if they knew that they were lying and they were lying to make a buck, at least they knew the truth. I think they're not even aware of the truth at
Yeah,
this point.
that's true too. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, consider what it was like during the medieval times. Yeah, with the priests and bishops and stuff. You had to toe a line, and if you didn't toe the line, you were out. That was it. Yeah, you're finished. Yeah, a lot of people were burned at the stake for exactly that kind of thing, and it's the same thing kind of thing today. With the cancel culture and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm noticing that.
Mm.
Uh, you mentioned the violation of the laws of thermodynamics. If you want to go over that again.
So basically, the two main laws of well, there's I think there's a total of three laws, but the most important ones are the first and second laws of thermodynamics. Yeah, so the first law of thermodynamics means that energy cannot be created or destroyed; it must be conserved. Yeah, and the second law of thermodynamics means that energy only disperses itself in the universe. It never ever concentrates itself. Yeah. And what that means in the thermal context of Earth's surface, yeah, that means that energy only transfers from hot to cold. Yeah, if you have a house heating with water, with hot water radiators, yeah, you know why your house is warm, because your radiators are hotter than your house. Yeah. Um, yeah, and these are foundational, fundamental principles of science, yeah, and they're being violated by the flat Earth, cold sun religion.
So the violation of Rule 1, when they're saying energy is being destroyed, is that the dividing the sun by four?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're not destroying energy; they're creating it. Well, no, let me back up a little bit. When they divide the sun by four, yeah, they're violating the fundamental principle of logic. Yeah, so the Aristotle's law of non-contradiction. Yeah, so they're distorting reality in the first place. Yeah, and then the second violation is the first law of thermodynamics. Yeah, they're creating energy. Yeah, because the sun is only a quarter of what it is. They have to create energy to reconcile their observations here on Earth. Yeah, and then the
Got it.
and then there's another violation of the second law of thermodynamics, where they assume that energy from the upper atmosphere can transfer to the warmer, from the colder upper atmosphere can transfer to the lower, to the warmer lower atmosphere. Yeah, so those are three major principles of logic and of science that are being violated by this dogma. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's a lot of information.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope we're making it interesting for your audience. Um, yeah. So now we're going to go back and a little bit into the foundations of Western civilization and why it remains vulnerable and how we can make it less vulnerable. Yeah, and it's really up to you and me and each of us individually. Yeah, we got to be a little bit less reliant on politicians and our leaders from taking care of this BS for us. That we sort of each have to do things in ourselves in our own way in everything that we say and everything that we do. Yeah. So I won't go through this in detail, but I'll leave this in here. We'll go to the next slide where you
We'll
break it
go to
up.
the next one. I'm guessing we'll break them down. It's just one thing, Gilles. Um, I'll get you the slides. I have these, so I'll give you a link. We'll put them in the show notes. So you can download them from Dropbox.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on here?
Okay, so yeah, Western civilization, the foundations of Western civilization, and I wish this would have been taught to me in secondary school, and I suspect most people have never been taught this in secondary school. It's not a very difficult topic, yeah, but essentially, mankind started off as primitive tribal savages that we organized ourselves into groups, yeah, to protect ourselves against enemies. But during all that time in the groups, yeah, you had the tribal chief, and the tribal chief had his right eliminate you if that's what he wished. Yeah, your life was totally dependent upon the tribal chief. Yeah, and then that developed into monarchies. Yeah, like in Egypt and in Babylonia and in all other places. Yeah, but about 1800 years ago, yeah, the Greek civilization started to develop, and they had quite a big different well, they had a very different kind of religion from anything else. Yeah, and they were a lot more curious about the natural world. Yeah, they didn't believe that the earth was created by any gods, although they believed in gods and all that stuff. The gods were not that important. They didn't create the universe. They didn't direct anything. They just had their own way. Yeah, and for the Greeks, life on Earth was pretty good. Yeah, and they were interested in understanding how the universe actually works and how to make life better. Yeah, they were comparatively a much healthier civilization than anything else in their surroundings. Yeah, so Greece is the actual intellectual foundation of Western civilization, and that grew, and that greatly influenced Rome. Yeah, the Roman Republic. Yeah, and Rome are the ancient Greece and ancient Rome are the actual foundations of Western civilization. Yeah. So and here you made a really nice slide here, basically describing how the first Roman Republicans basically came up with the idea of separating the powers of the state and to create a set of written laws that anybody could understand. Yeah, and that they the Roman Republic, yeah, was the first instance in all of known human history where society was ruled by law rather than by men, essentially. Yeah. So this is a really important point because this is what the United States. This is the kind of idea that the United States of America was built upon. Yeah, and it also influenced the, the British Empire as well. Yeah.
And this is this picture. This is that lady Lucrezia one that got killed by the prince.
Is it?
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that who it is? The
I'm not
start of the
sure because
revolution.
that's a picture that you found. I'm not. I don't know really what it is, to be honest.
I googled it. The Etruscan prince killed that lady, and then
Oh, okay.
Brutus led that revolution.
Oh, that could be. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Where I reside here in Italy, in Perugia, this was Etruscan territory as well.
Oh,
Yeah. So
it's
yeah,
a
it's
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 a
pretty interesting. So if anybody's wanting to learn about Rome, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting, and it's pretty important just to start off with the knowledge that there's basically two main parts to the Roman history. Yeah, there's the Roman Republic, which was very civilized and extremely successful, and then it basically corrupted itself and became a Roman Empire. Yeah, so in the decades BC, and essentially destroyed itself, and exactly the same sort of processes might be happening to us unless we somehow spread better ideas and help prevent it from happening.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we got a good timeline here. What's going on here?
Okay. So yeah, this is just a very basic summary. Again, this is foundational to Western civilization. Yes, from Greece to the fall of Rome. Yeah. So the Greek civilization started developing substantially in the 6th century BC, and then the Roman Republic fall. They were very closely related, and the Romans were very influenced by the Greeks. Um, and very and basically the Roman Republic, they had a lot of major battles against some terrible enemies, and they defeated their enemies, and the Republic grew. Um, but I think mostly because of Platonic ideas, which dominated at the time. Yeah, the Romans started becoming a lot more mystical and power hungry. Yeah, and you ended up with a lot of major conflicts for being consul. Yeah, so consul was basically what later to become an emperor. Yeah, so basically the purpose of the consul was to execute the laws of the land. Yeah, and then you had the likes of Julius Caesar, who was very talented. He did a lot of really important things, but he was in major conflict with a lot of his colleagues. And he won France for Rome, and then he made himself dictator. But it was completely against the principles of the Roman Republic, and he ended up getting assassinated and created a whole shitstorm and in Rome, and then thus began the Roman Empire. Yeah, with Emperor Augustus, the first emperor. Yeah, and then here in my city in Perugia, we have this great big Etruscan arch. I should have included a picture, but it's the oldest complete stone arch in all of Europe. Yeah, and it's really awesome to look at. But it was built in the third century BC during the Roman Republic. But during the wars, the civil strife following Caesar's assassination, there was a lot of civil war and civil strife, and Perugia was on the wrong side of that conflict, and it got totally crushed. Um, and uh, and the new emperor, yeah, his name was Augustus. Yeah, basically stamped his name across this arch. Yeah, and it's quite awesome to see because this thing's thousands of years old, and it kind of puts you back in those days. Yeah. Yeah, so okay, we got to keep on going. Yeah, so from the Roman Empire, which endured for another 4 or 5 centuries, but in a decaying manner. Yeah, so they basically, I'd say, the Roman Empire were the first inventors of the welfare state. Yeah, because they essentially bribed people to support them. Yeah, with free goodies. Yeah, from the government. Yeah, and basically they invented inflation. I'm not sure if they invented inflation, but they certainly used it. Yeah,
Perfected it.
yeah, they perfected it. Yeah, and yeah, eventually became a lot more mystical. Yeah, and Christianity formed. Yeah, and and it just decayed from there, and then it split apart as we show here, and this split here is what basically caused the Western Christians and the Eastern Orthodox. Yeah, and this makes an important distinction because on the Western part, later on in the century, in 6 or 7 centuries, no, longer than that, I'd say 10 centuries. Yeah, after this, yeah, that Aristotle affected the Western Christians, while it had no existence at all, no relevance at all to the Easterners. Yeah, so I just want to make that point. Yeah, so when Rome failed, yeah, it was total disaster and anarchy. A lot of, yeah, and basically a long period of dark ages ensued, yeah, until the 13th century. Yeah, and then and roughly from about the 8th to the 12th century, yeah, the Arabs and Persians were occupying southern Europe. Yeah, so basically all of Spain, big parts of southern Italy, and but at the time, yeah, the Arabs and then the Persians, yeah, were the advanced cultures of the time. Yeah, because out there in the Eastern Empire, they rediscovered Aristotle. Yeah, so they rediscovered the majority of what we know about Aristotle. Yeah, and in some ruin in somewhere in Syria, I understand. Yeah, so they translated ancient Greek into Arabic, and yeah, and these Arabic and Persian cultures flourished, yeah, for 6 or 7 centuries. Yeah, they were the advanced cultures, and they invented a lot of things. I think they invented medicine, the compass, a lot of other things. Yeah, and yeah, they were a major influence. Well, yeah, in a way, yeah, by accident, they helped rescue Western civilization. Yeah, but it was purely by accident. Yeah, and then Aristotle was discovered and promoted by the likes of Albertus, the Christian priest Albertus Magnus, and then Saint Thomas Aquinas. Yeah, and it's good to learn more about Saint Thomas Aquinas because he is extremely important uh, Christian priest. Yeah, who managed to persuade his colleagues in the Catholic theocracy to start applying Aristotle's epistemological methods. Yeah, to understand the universe. Yeah, he was able to convince them to that that it's in God's will that we understand the world. He put it in that way. He sort of helped unleash the medieval world from this mind stultifying theocracy into a greater interest and curiosity about the real world. Yeah, and that sparked the Renaissance. Yeah, so the building these beautiful cathedrals and more importantly, all of the artworks of the time. Yeah. Yeah, and then following the Renaissance, yeah, the Enlightenment, yeah, which we'll go into a little bit more detail later on, but it's the Enlightenment that enabled us to develop science. And the most important, I think, accomplishment of all was the discovery of the establishment of the United States of America. Yeah. Yeah.
No, good breakdown. Um, so we'll go through this in a bit, but he seems like David of the Freedom Conversation podcast. Like, Payman, please send this cat my way. I guess he wants to interview you. My
Okay.
mind is blown, and I just got here.
Cool. I'm glad
Like,
people think that way.
yeah, you're getting your own groupies. So you don't just have haters online; you have followers.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So this.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, this is a nice piece of research you did yourself here about the 12 tables. Yeah. So, yeah, essentially the Romans created this law that everybody could read. Yeah. And they put it out in public and they said, yeah, and it's exactly as described here. Yeah. People knew what the law was and they followed the law. And if you didn't follow the law, then, you would be adjudicated in some way. Yeah. And that was the rule of law rather than the rule of men. Yeah. And it was a major development in human civilization. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a picture of it. We won't go
Yeah.
through it all, but
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised. Like the laws are very well written, and I'm a big believer that the law, it has to be able to be understood by everyone. You can't make it
See,
so complicated.
see, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And I mean, that's one of the effects of the counter enlightenment, yes, to make you not understand what's right and what's wrong. And yeah.
Yeah, make everything convoluted. So we'll leave that there. The audience can read that on their
Yeah.
own.
Mm.
Go on.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have the fall of Rome. Yeah. And basically the fall of Rome is entirely because the leaders and the whole society became increasingly mystical. Yeah, well before first it became mystical. Yeah, there was Stoicism, yeah, which was a religion itself, and then it morphed. It all morphed into Christianity, and essentially it was Christianity that did the Roman Empire in. Yeah, uh, yeah, they basically suicided themselves. Yeah, because of their religion.
You must have read Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of Roman Empire.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't have it yet. No.
It's check it out. It's a very hard read. It's very big. It's like an
Mm.
encyclopedia, but I think it's still banned by the Catholic Church because he
No.
essentially in there he reaches the conclusion that the Roman Empire fell because of Christianity.
Yeah. And and it's important people who are Christian faith, to understand that Western Christianity is at least partially valid, yeah, because of the Aristotelian influences that came 1300, 1,000 years after the fall of Rome. Yeah, but for a good 1,000 years, it was a terrible theocratic feudalist regime. Yeah, that's probably even worse than modern Islam. Yeah.
Gonna get a lot of hate mail on that one.
Probably, but I mean, I have the evidence in front of me, yeah, and
That's all good. Yeah.
I'll
Um,
mm.
yeah. Just quickly give us. I guess the next slides will break this down. But what are we looking at now?
Okay. Well, this monument shown here is the Fontana Maggiore. It's an old fountain here in the city of Perugia, where I live. And even the curators of the city don't understand the significance of this monument, but fortunately they protect it from the vandals and stuff, yeah, and it's well protected and well maintained. Yeah. So, but what this fountain is showing are the major Aristotelian influences that started to occur in Christianity at the time. Yeah, this monument was built in 1278. Yeah, just a few years following the death of Saint Thomas Aquinas. And I mentioned earlier that Saint Thomas Aquinas successfully uh, integrated certain Aristotelian doctrines, especially his epistemology, yeah, the theory of how we know, how we discover knowledge, how we learn. He successfully incorporated this epistemology into the Catholic theocracy. Yeah, and people started to becoming more interested in the real world. So what you see in this building of this foundation of this fountain, yeah, of this monument, is a yeah a realization of what they saw as the real world. Yeah, this two-tiered society. Yeah, so on the top layer, yeah, you have a bunch of statues depicting monarchs and priests and other bureaucrats. And then on the lower tier, you have all the producers, yeah, the farmers, the merchants, the people who do the work. Yeah.
Do we have a close up of this in the next slides?
I'm not sure. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. But it's worth if you even
There
if
we
you
go.
look it up on the internet, you look up. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So you have the little statuettes on the top. Yeah, it's all kings, queens, priests, yeah, and officials. And on the bottom, those are bas relief sculptures on limestone. Yeah, and they're very cool to look at too. But basically, it's all working people, farmers and butchers, and all the different kinds of activities where things are produced for society. Yeah, and I
So,
mean,
sorry, I skipped a slide for you.
no worries. Yeah, okay, and then yeah, so I just thought I'd mention, Aristotle, the Arab and Persian, and I like to I like to when I like to talk about Middle Eastern people by their Arab and or Persian and other ethnicities. Yeah, these are real people with actual ethnic backgrounds. Yeah, and this is in contrast to today. Yeah, with Palestinian, which is a fake ethnic background. Yeah, these are Arab people, Arab or Persian and other ethnicities. Yeah, and these are real ethnic uh, entities, yeah, that we got to be careful not to smear away with religion, yeah, with Islam or any other religion, yeah, that deletes their identity. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, yeah, from the 6th to the 13th century, there was Arab and Persian occupation of southern Europe, and these were the advanced cultures of the day. Yeah, and if you ever travel to southern Spain, you'll see some beautiful works, yeah, that were created at the time by the Arab and Persian rulers of the time, and these, yeah, basically they were the advanced culture of the day. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. And they brought Aristotelian doctrine into the West, and it was these two priests, Saint Thomas Aquinas and his master. I can't remember his name anymore, but they brought Aristotle to the West, and these two Catholic priests translated from Arabic into Latin, had this Aristotelian doctrine, and it eventually became part of the Christian society in Italy. Yeah, and then from Italy we had the Renaissance, and that spread throughout all of Europe. Yeah, eventually resulting into the Enlightenment. Yeah, or what a lot of people will say, an awakening. Yeah,
Gilles, let me ask you a question. When was Galileo's trial? What year?
was 1615, late 1500s, early 1600s, I
You know,
think.
like I always find it interesting how they didn't crucify or prosecute Thomas Aquinas, but
Yeah,
they did go after Galileo.
yeah, yeah. Well, Galileo was more. Uh, how would you say that? The thing is, with Aristotelian doctrine, it was relatively easy for the Catholics to adopt him because Aristotle, because of his Platonic influences, also believed in a God. Yeah, so he wasn't totally heretical. Yeah, and uh, and also, Aristotle's view of the universe and the Earth and the concentric spheres was very consistent with what the Christians believe at the time. But with Galileo, he basically he promoted Copernican ideology, about the heliocentric universe, and that was heresy. Yeah, it was total heresy, and it wasn't long before Galileo that they burned people at the stake. Yeah, for much less than that. Yeah.
Bad times.
Bad times. Yeah, but I mean that's the outcome of when religious theocracy gets out of control. It happened then under Christianity. It's happening today under Islam. And also this, and you can easily categorize the communism or fascism, other forms of statism. It's exactly the same counter enlightenment. There's this metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. All of it is tied together by those three philosophical categories. Metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics.
That's right. Everybody, go back to the beginning of this episode, and if you forgot what it was, Gilles, you're starting to tie this back to climate change. What's going on here?
Okay. So so during medieval theocracies, so the people were made to exist in perpetual undeserved guilt. And you had to, you existed for the sake of God, and you worked for the sake of God, and so and in order to not to go to hell or to spend less time in purgatory, you had to buy indulgences. So you had to pay whatever earnings or large fraction of the earnings you made to the church and its authorities. And this, of course, included the kingdom. So that's basically how they financed all these magnificent cathedrals and pay for the artworks that were created by the great masters. By the selling of indulgences, and the way that I explain these indulgences here is what's happening to us today under this climate change dogma. So now we're paying these incredible taxes, enduring incredible inflation, which is just another form of tax. And it's your fault, because you burn fossil fuels and you're causing catastrophic climate change. So they ride on the shoulders of your undeserved guilt, and that it's wrong to enjoy yourself, to have fun, because you're a sinner, because it's your fault. Because Canada is a genocidal state, or that British colonialism created slavery, or that America is funded on, all of this negative dogma. It's all preying on our undeserved guilt.
I really like that, a protection racket.
So I'm basically using words of Ayn Rand, and I changed them a little bit, to to put in context of what's really going on.
I guess we're on to the next set of slides. What's going on here?
I think so. Okay. So here, I try to characterize what Aristotle, what the significance of Aristotle, why people need to be more interested in what Aristotle means, what Aristotle means, especially in history, which I outline on the left, and on the right, there you have the painting of created by Raphael. Depicting Plato, with his hand pointing upwards. So to him, the really real reality is essentially up in the sky. Basically, it's in an alternate universe. Well, Aristotle argued that the really real reality is right here. And that you have to make use of your own senses and your own mind to understand it. So that's basically the metaphysics of mysticism versus the metaphysics of reason. So if we go on to, I'll leave that there for people to read in detail if they want. Because we'll dive into a little bit more detail.
Okay.
So basically the method of common sense. I mean, common sense is about feelings. It's about making use of your senses, and in a certain way, in a very certain way. And I spell it out here. So this is something that was initiated by Aristotle, but with a few minor errors taken out and redefined by Ayn Rand's objectivism. So existence is an objective absolute, unaffected by our hopes and fears. Everything is what it is. A is A, 2 + 2 = 4, and it doesn't equal anything else. So the thing about math, we use math to understand the universe. We don't use math to create the universe. The universe is comprised of, the metaphysical reality is that the universe is comprised of quantities of things, and all of these quantities have certain relationships with one another. And that's the real purpose of mathematics and physics, is to understand the relationships of these quantities, which are a metaphysical fact of reality. And you cannot distort that, without making yourself or other people stupid. Yeah, that's just an absolute law. Yeah, yeah. So the method of common sense. Yeah. So the primacy of existence. Everything in existence has an identity. Yeah. Everything is what it is. Yeah. So that's the law of identity. It derived from Aristotle's law of non-contradiction. Yeah, and the purpose of our consciousness, yeah, what our consciousness does is to perceive existence. Yeah, but because of very old diseased philosophy that we're all very vulnerable to, we're vulnerable to using our consciousness to create existence. Yeah, to basically create bullshit. Yeah, to create bullshit that seems valid. Yeah, and then that's basically what we're confronting today. Yeah. Yeah. So it's important to be conscious of the fact that our consciousness exists to perceive reality, nothing else. Yeah,
Not
we
the other
can't
way around.
create
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I really like the slide here that you made. Yeah, the actual light of the world. Yeah, it is the guy on the right hand side there, an old Greek. Yeah, he basically established the first reality based set of reality based philosophical ideas. He's got a lot of errors and there's a lot of things missing and he made some pretty big errors, but I think a lot of it is corrected now and it's been filled in, yeah, by Ayn Rand's objectivism. Um, and in there I said recognize yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, so yeah, at first I had mentioned that Aristotle came up with the idea of separation of powers, but no, he actually just recognized it in Roman neighbors, yeah, during his time. Yeah. But he does write it in some of his writings, yeah, that survived, yeah, and
I like this little swing at Plato at the end here. You say Aristotle influenced the Arabs and the Persians for a while, and then they reverted right back to Platonic
yeah,
mysticism.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, exactly, yeah. So the Arabs and Persians, yeah, they stupefied themselves, but the Westerners have exactly the same vulnerability, yeah. And you look at communism and socialism and Nazism and the climate cult. Westerners have exactly the same vulnerability, yeah. And we have to be wise to this and counter it in any way that we can, yeah, by making use of our own senses as good as we can, yeah.
Oh, it goes on actually.
Yeah. So okay. So I already talked a little about Saint Thomas Aquinas. Yeah. So he's a very key figure. He's among the heroes. Yeah, a Catholic priest, and basically made Christianity somewhat better. Yeah, than what it was. Yeah, quasi valid. So it's important to know about Saint Thomas Aquinas. Yeah, the whole Enlightenment was Aristotelian. Yeah. So the the notion of rights, yeah, with the classical liberalism that was initiated from the British society. Yeah, the Brits came up with a lot of this. They were very heavily influenced by Aristotle, by the likes of John Locke, for example. Yeah, the creation of the classical liberal ideas are all Aristotelian. Yeah, but a lot of people got it completely wrong. They think that it comes from Christianity, and it's only about 1/3 true. Yeah, because it's Aristotle that affected Christianity. Yeah, it's not the other way around. Yeah. Um, yeah. So in these basic so Aristotle spelled out these methods of identification, abstraction, logic, reasoning, common sense. Yeah. He came up with some very good definitions and methods for using these things, and it's because of this, yeah, that we have the valid science that we know today. Yeah, Aristotle is the actual father of all science that we know today. Yeah.
Your fan is back, Gilles. Says this episode of your show payment needs to be archived and disseminated. Gilles is offering pure gold.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. That's very nice.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna expand this one. There's a lot of text. So what's going on here?
Yeah. Okay. So Sir Isaac Newton. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Sir Isaac Newton as an engineer. Yeah. Because I learned the laws of motion and calculus to a very large degree, and it's all because of Sir Isaac Newton. If there's a modern man that changed history for the better, yeah, he's among them. Yeah, and the Enlightenment was largely British. Yeah, yeah, the classical liberal idea. I don't want to say that classical liberalism is the be all and end all. Yeah, that's not correct, but it's a hell of a lot better than anything else that existed at the time. And it was these classical liberal ideas that sort of propagated themselves throughout all of the colonies. Yeah, and it was those ideas that began the process of ending poverty and slavery everywhere in the world today. Yeah, so again, we'll start repeating again. What are the Enlightenment ideas? Yeah, so I'll repeat again that these are of Aristotelian origin. Yeah, not Judeo-Christian. Yeah, anything Judeo-Christian is just a radicalized version of Plato's philosophy, mystical, otherworldly philosophy. Yeah, which promotes totalitarianism. Yeah, and it's because of this mysticism that we today remain vulnerable to totalitarianism. Yeah. Until enough of us become more cognizant of Aristotle, we'll always have this vulnerability. Yeah, and I think we mentioned already the metaphysical essence. Yeah, is that the universe ruled by knowable natural laws that are absolute, stable, and firm. Yeah, the key word here being knowable. Yeah, I should have put that in bold with higher font. Yeah, that these are knowable, that are within our capability of our minds to understand. Yeah, and epistemology of reason and logic applied upon common sense perceptions, and an ethics of rational egoism, self-esteem, self-development, happiness, and prosperity. Yeah, yeah. Can you think of where if you look at the American Declaration of Independence? Yeah, that everybody has the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, none of that was written in any Bible anywhere. No, and that's Aristotelian uh, doctrine. Yeah, yeah, and by selfish, we don't mean stepping on other people and sacrificing others for yourself. And taking from other people. That's not what selfish means. Selfish means uh, uh, choosing to love your own life and all else that is dear to you in this life. Yeah, this is life is the only one that we have, and we have to each make the most out of it that we can.
I gotta ask a question. Let me question before moving on to the next slide. How do you square like the criticism of Judeo-Christianity as radicalization of Plato and the fact that it has done, or these people that say all the West is based on like the Ten Commandments and it's
Yeah, but it's
basically
not.
Christianity.
But it's not. It simply isn't. Yeah. So you're roughly right about the time of America's founding. Yeah, in the late 18th century, you had this German philosopher. His name was Immanuel Kant. Yeah, and he successfully convinced people that Aristotle was irrelevant. He was wrong. So ever since that time, yeah. So this is set for centuries now. People have been directed away from understanding Aristotelian philosophy. Yeah, that the absoluteness of this real world, and uh, and that's basically what we're seeing here. Yeah, people are totally unaware of the foundations of the actual foundations of Western civilization. Yeah, so the Judeo Christianity is actually the vulnerability. Yeah, the Greek philosophy is the strength, well, especially the Aristotelian Greek philosophy. Yeah, not the Platonic one, but the Greek one. Yeah, everything is really framed around reason versus mysticism. Yeah, this painting with Plato and Aristotle. That's what everything should be framed upon, and it isn't. And that's what we as actual objectivists try to do and try to disseminate to the world. Yeah, the actual cause of history. Yeah. It's a struggle between reason and mysticism. And the
All
British
right.
Enlightenment was a major victory of reasoning. Yeah, for a while. Yeah,
So
and
for the audience, we promise we will get back to climate change. I'll
yeah,
talk about the
yeah.
American
But
Revolution.
all of this stuff, yeah, is what is at risk. Everything that we're talking about right now is at risk because of the climate change religion. Yeah, yeah. So the American, we talked a little bit about the Roman Republic, and it is the Roman Republic that the United States of America is modeled upon. Yeah. Yeah, and in a similar fashion to the Roman Republic, it compromised itself into becoming a welfare state. Yeah, and that's but so the history is starting to repeat it. Well, it has been repeating itself now for a good 100 years now. Yeah, and hopefully, with the remnants of free speech and free association that we still have, we can disseminate the ideas to mitigate the risk of a repeated history. Yeah. So what the founding fathers called the self-evident truths, yeah, are only self-evident after you go through a lot of you go through a lot of effort of understanding history and philosophy, which you yourself did, Payman. Yeah. So yeah, that's something for people to know. Yeah, the truths aren't self-evident at all. Yeah, they're a product of a lot of time and effort, trial and error. Yeah, and war, a revolutionary war. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so
Next
that
slide.
basically, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so okay, here comes a piece of sophistry. Next slide.
I feel like we've reused this slide 3 times now.
Yeah, I just put this so I know where I am. Yeah, that we're coming. Yeah, okay, so this is one of the biggest pieces of sophistry ever. Yeah, the climate change. Yeah, yeah, for sure, climate change is real, but it's 100% natural. Climate change has always happened, and it forever will. Yeah, it's such a terrible, terrible,
Let me,
terrible dogma. Huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
let
so
me make
if
this a
you
little bigger.
Yeah, you just go back a couple showing the four together that I had there. The four, yeah, this one. Yeah, so what I try to do here, starting from the left bottom corner, is a very long scale. Yeah, 65 million years. Yeah, when the dinosaurs disappeared. Yeah, and then to the present day, which is actually an ice age. Yeah, we're actually living in an ice age today, and it's about 2.5 million years old. Then just above that, yeah, I expand the scale, and to show to 2.5 million years. Yeah, and that's basically how long this current ice age we're in has been going on for. And what an ice age looks like is you have these little peaks and spikes. Yeah, and each of these little spikes are holiday from glaciation. Yeah, and we're enjoying one of those holidays right now. And those holidays endure for about 10 or 15,000 years. Yeah, it varies by quite a bit. Yeah, and then on the next slide we have one that's about
So
no
this is the dinosaur
yeah.
one.
That's the dinosaur one. That's right. Yes, and this is
This
the
is the 2 million
interglacial
one,
peaks. Yeah,
right?
yeah, and then right on the right hand side. Yeah,
Okay.
so right on the right hand side. Yeah, when we go to the next slide, we'll have that right hand side blown up. Yeah. So here is about 10,000 years. Yeah. So this is our current interglacial holidays. Yeah. So all the Greeks and the Romans were about 2,000 years ago. Yeah. It was much warmer in the past than it is today. Yeah. And also, during the Renaissance, that just happened, 6 or 7 centuries ago, we had what was called the Little Ice Age. It was very cold and there were mass famines all over the place. Yeah. And we're just bouncing up from this. Yeah, the whole climate change hysteria, that global warming hysteria, is just this bounce, yeah, from the little ice age.
I really like this slide. I don't know if I left it in here. What you said is like the temperature is going up. So this is from like 1659. And it is a meaningless coincidence that CO2 is
Yeah,
also going up.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually the CO2 is going up because when you heat up the ocean, it's the same effect when you have a beer and you in the fridge and you let it warm up, or if you put it in the sun and then you open it, yeah, it fizzes out. Yeah, so when you heat up the oceans, the gases outgas. Yeah, so in a slide that'll be coming up pretty soon, yeah, I'll show a slide where the cloud albedo has been going down. Yeah, so a lot more sunshine has been getting into the oceans. Yeah, and that heats up the oceans and that lets the gases come out. Yeah, so you get more CO2 outgassing from the oceans. Yeah, so the CO2 rise occurs after the warming, not before. Yeah, they get cause and effect completely backwards.
All right. So what
Yeah.
is albedo? Albedo?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, albedo. Yeah. Basically, albedo is essentially with the reflection from the clouds and Earth's atmosphere that prevent the sun's energy from entering our atmosphere. Yeah, from interacting inside of our atmosphere. So so I just want to bring that up because we have to take it into account. Yeah, when we do certain calculations, but it's a pretty straightforward concept. Yeah. So basically, the amount of reflection of the sun's energy that doesn't get into the Earth's atmosphere. Yeah.
Okay, just for the audience, when we say the albedo is zero point 0.3, that means 30% of the sun's energy light is reflected away from the Earth.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, and this albedo is not constant. Yeah, it's known to fluctuate significantly. Yeah, as I say here. Yeah, so when you go out, if you go out to outer space and anywhere in the Earth Moon orbit, yeah, you'll soon discover that the sun has a heating potential of 120 degrees Celsius. Yeah, and that's basically what 1360 watts per meters mean. Yeah, that's the amount of energy from the sun per unit of area, and it has this heating potential. Yeah, and we see this heating potential on the surface of the moon. Yeah, especially on its equator during its days long noontime. Yeah, and I think coming up next, we're going to be talking about an energy balance. And when you're doing an energy balance, you're only looking at energy in and energy out, and you see what balance there is between the two. Yeah. So when we're looking at the Earth, yeah, we know that the sun only shines upon one hemisphere, and all of that energy coming to that hemisphere is going through a disk, yeah, of the same radius of the Earth, yeah, with an area of pi r squared. Yeah.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah. I'll go to the next slide.
Right,
Yeah.
I see. So for people to understand what they mean, the sun, it doesn't hit the entire side of the earth. Obviously, the sun was only on one side of the earth, but even then, the earth is a sphere. So you could think of it as hitting like that one little top corner, 1/4 of it, which is why we're saying they're cutting it by 4.
Yeah, yeah. The reality, no, it's not quite like that. Before the sun's energy touches the Earth, um, yeah, it flows through an area of a pi r square. Yeah, the area of a, yeah, because of it's a hemisphere. All of the energy that hits that hemisphere has passed through an area of pi r square, a flat disk. Yeah, before it hits the half sphere or the hemisphere.
You're talking about
Yeah.
the climate narrative?
No, I'm talking about energy balance. Yeah, because the sun is only coming in on one side of the Earth. Yeah, that and if let's go back just one slide. Yeah, so what I shown here, the sun here with its 1360 watts. Yeah, all of that power goes through a disk. Yeah, and then there's the albedo, which diminishes it by about 30%, and then it hits the Earth's hemisphere. Yeah, hemisphere. So when you're doing an energy balance using area normalized quantities, yeah, you do it like this. Yeah, you look at the energy coming in, and then you look at the energy coming out, and you quantify the amount of energy coming in by this theoretical disk, yeah, before it hits the Earth.
Yeah, but I thought that the sun, reading your slides, it hits 1/4 of the Earth at any given time, whereas all 4 quarters are
No,
dissipating energy into space.
no. It hits half of the Earth, yeah, one hemisphere at a time. Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
there's two hemispheres in one sphere. A hemisphere is a half a sphere, not a quarter of a sphere.
for some
Yeah.
reason, I thought that like all of the energy is concentrated on 1/4,
No,
and then the
no,
other three, four
no,
quarters.
no.
Okay,
So before you
my
before
mistake.
you even before you even get to the Earth, yeah, all the energy that will hit the Earth, yeah, before it gets there, goes through this disk, yeah, of pi r squared. That's all that really matters, yeah, because we're doing an astrophysical energy balance. We're looking at energy that's coming in and energy that's going out, yeah, and we're using these area normalized quantities, yeah, which makes it a lot simpler.
All right, my mistake. Ignore what I said.
No,
Should we go on to the
no
next slide?
problem. It's good. It's good. No, it's good to talk like this. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about the surface area of this. Yeah. So yeah, this one's a better one here. Yeah. So we go through the disk. We hit the Earth. Yeah. And then this power that does hit the Earth has this whole complex of thermodynamic processes. Yeah. But this is what the climate academics do. They try to get you into this complex so you can be completely lost, and you have no choice but to believe what they tell you to think. Yeah. But that whole complex, when it comes to doing an energy balance, an astrophysical energy balance, that whole complex is completely irrelevant. Yeah, you don't look at that. You don't even look at it. Yeah, you only measure the energy that's coming out. Yeah, and the energy is coming out on both the day side and the night side of the Earth, across the whole surface area. Yeah, so you got energy coming in through the area of a disk, and then you have the reacting energy coming out across the whole surface area. Yeah, so what you have to do is you have to multiply that infrared energy that's outgoing by 4, yeah, to make it comparable to the energy that's coming in. Yeah, and when you do that, you get a perfect energy balance.
Because if there wasn't an energy balance, the Earth would just like explode or
Well, they
melt,
claim,
right?
the climate academics claim that there's an energy imbalance at the Earth, yeah, because of magic plant food, the Earth is getting hotter, yeah, and it's total bullshit. They don't know what they're doing, yeah, and they're trying to take advantage of our lack of familiarity and how to do these sort of things, and that's what's
Yeah, I
really
think
going on.
I'm starting to understand what you're saying. What about the argument that Canada, Earth could turn into Venus?
Yeah, total. Yeah, we can get into Venus, but it's largely the same thing. Especially when we get into adiabatic heating. Yeah, a little bit later we'll talk about adiabatic heating, and that's what dominates on Venus. Yeah, it's not trapping heat; it's pressure. Yeah, but the bottom line is that the energy coming in from the sun is equals exactly to the energy coming out. That's the bottom line. Yeah, and it's basic arithmetic.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have all of the thermodynamic. Yeah, so this complex of thermodynamic processes, yeah, they're pretty complex. They take quite a bit of effort, but bottom line is that they are knowable. Yeah, and I know them very well because I'm pretty practiced at using the principles that drive these processes. Yeah, but the bottom line in all this, yeah, is that the Earth's atmosphere is actually a giant refrigeration unit. Yeah, it's not a blanket like we're being told. Yeah. And there'll be another big piece of sophistry coming up here pretty soon. Yeah. But the bottom line, yeah, that the Earth's atmosphere is a giant refrigeration unit that prevents the equator from becoming 120 degrees C. Yeah. And it makes the Earth's and it prevents the extremes like we see on the moon. Yeah, the 120 degrees C on the equator and minus 200 and something on the dark side. Yeah, it makes it help. Well, it's more than helps it. It's essential to life on Earth. Yeah.
Gilles, for some of those of us that don't know what a refrigeration unit is, what is it, and how is that different from a blanket, like you said?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so basically, how a refrigerator works is that it uses energy absorbing gases. Yeah. Yeah. What we call greenhouse gases. Yeah, refrigerants are greenhouse gases basically. And refrigerants are gases that absorb energy. Yeah, and in order to make a refrigerator work, you have to make that gas colder than what it is in the refrigerator. Yeah, and then any energy in that refrigerator will flow from hot to cold. Yeah, from what's inside the refrigerator towards the cold refrigerant. Yeah. Then you take that refrigerant and you compress it into a liquid and it gets hot. And then you pump it to a little radiator on the back of your refrigerator. If you look at the back of your fridge, you'll see a radiator. Yeah. And that's where the compressed gas into a liquid goes to get cooled off. Once it gets through that radiator again, and then it goes into an evaporator and it converts that liquid back into a gas and it gets very cold. Yeah, because you took all of the energy out of it. Yeah. And that's basically how a refrigerator works at. It compresses and expands heat absorbing gases, yeah, to transfer energy from where it's hot to where it's cold.
All right.
Yeah.
The next slide. Sophistry again.
Here comes some sophistry. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a big one. Yeah. So yeah, basically the climate academics have made the sun 1/4 of what it is in reality. Yeah, and by making it 1/4 of what it is in reality, yeah, you have to, in order to reconcile our observations here on Earth, you have to create energy, yeah, in violation of the first law of thermodynamics. And in addition, you have to make that energy transfer from where it's cold up in the cold upper atmosphere to hot to the warm lower atmosphere. Yeah, it's complete and total nonsense. If you leave the sun as it really is, yeah, a hot sun, yeah, that's 120 degrees above the clouds, you can reconcile everything perfectly. Yeah, like I already showed you. Yeah, you can make a perfect energy balance, and all energy transfers from where it's hot to where it's cold, the way it should be.
And Gilles, you alluded to this, but like there's no scientists that are questioning this.
When I started posting this, yeah, before I got canned, it created a shitstorm. Yeah, but it's kind of hard to argue against. And if you look yourself, yeah, like as I said before, you look for any energy balance, and you'll see a top of TOA, yeah, top of atmosphere energy input of 340 watts per meter, yeah, and that's a quarter of the sun. Yeah, and what's even worse, yeah, NASA publishes this kind of bullshit, and out of anybody, NASA should know better, yeah. So they're doing this on purpose, yeah. It's contaminated by people who've grown a dependence on their government welfare, yeah, and they're destroying science in the process.
I'm really worried about, like, when I started looking at this climate change thing, a lot of what I saw, the lies, it kind of worried me. So media obviously is pushing it. High school textbooks are pushing it.
Yeah,
Hollywood's pushing it.
yeah,
Academia.
yeah,
But like the NASA, these three-letter agencies pushing it, that's what really worried me. And when I say pushing it, I mean falsifying the data.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but this yeah, and that's the effect of the counter enlightenment. Yeah, people are giving up their minds. Yeah, they've become dependent essentially upon human sacrifices. Yeah, and that's what a dependence on government welfare does. It corrupts individual people. It corrupts corporations. It corrupts entire institutions. Yeah, and it leads to the fall of Rome. Yeah, essentially. Yeah, and then that's what we've been through in this presentation. Yeah. Yeah, so we've been through this already. Yeah, we basically divide the sun by four. Yeah, we made the sun into
There's,
something it is not.
there's the comment I made about NASA.
Yeah, yeah, they should know better. Yeah, but they're in on it. Yeah, and yeah, I guess I mentioned this already, but you can look it up yourself, and you'll see a TOA energy source of 340. Yeah, which corresponds to a temperature of 5 degrees C. Yeah, instead of 120 degrees C.
Yeah, this is alarming.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and this is a violation of the first law, magic energy creation. Yeah. So I think people. I don't need to read this. Yeah. Yeah.
Sophistry. Here we go.
More. Here we go. More sophistry again. Yeah. 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 So basically, yeah, we have. Yeah, we'll go into a little bit more detail in later slides. Yeah. But basically, we're all being told that there's a kind of a essentially that the CO2 or energy absorbing gaseous media, which are actually refrigerants, act as a barrier, yeah, that prevent things like convection and evaporation and condensation from taking place. And yeah, and you end up with what we have today is a suicide cult religion, and it's become very powerful, amazingly powerful. Yeah, yeah, and then it's all has to do, and I like mentioned before, this all has to do with our metaphysical worldviews. Yeah, we each can choose what we believe the nature of the universe to be. Yeah, is it something mystical and unknowable and chaotic and apocalyptic, or is it something that's real, that's ruled by natural laws that we can understand? Yeah, and then this is a personal choice that we each have to make. Yeah, you really don't have a choice, but other than to try to make a choice on these two choices. Yeah, so we have the suicide cult religion. Yeah, which is completely preposterous. Yeah, and then you have the scientific reality, which is the next slide. Yeah. Yeah, this is the scientific reality. Yeah, the Earth is surrounded by six giant convection cells. Yeah, and with the change of pressures and temperatures as you go up. If you've ever been up in an airplane, you'll notice how the temperature drops when you go up in the sky. And also, if you ever travel to Europe, if you got there sooner than was expected, is because the pilots probably chose to go get on one of the jet streams that exist in between the convection cells. Yeah, that pushes the airplane along. Yeah, the Earth's atmosphere is a giant refrigeration unit, and that's basically how it looks like. Yeah, in this picture. Yeah, no, I thought I'd just leave this in because this goes into a little bit more detail about how convection cells work. Yeah, and this is essentially how a refrigeration unit works as well too. Yeah, you have compression and expansion. In the middle there, where you have the latent heat, yeah, that's the main process that's relevant here on Earth with water vapor. Yeah, people say water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas. Well, it's a bit of a misnomer because because water vapor absorbs so much energy. Yeah, it's actually a refrigerant. Yeah, it's the most important refrigerant. Yeah, we got to get this greenhouse gas language out of our vocabulary. Yeah, energy absorbing gaseous meter are actually refrigerants. Yeah, and the same is with CO2 and methane. The thing is with CO2 and methane, though, is that their quantities are so small. Yeah, they're essentially 5 orders of magnitude less than that of water vapor. Yeah. So what latent heat does is that it absorbs energy, yeah, without increasing the temperature very much, yeah. So and it creates, and it's energy, and it fights against gravity, and it creates this buoyancy, and that's why we have these convection cells, and because of this buoyancy, the amount of adiabatic heating that occurs is reduced. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about adiabatic heating later. But the amount of adiabatic heating is reduced, and you end up with a cooler temperature on the Earth. Yeah, and that basically explains why tropical regions which are very humid are cooler than desert regions which are very hot. Yeah, during the daytime. Yeah, this
I'm going to
latent
ask a
heat.
couple of questions, Gilles, just because I got to simplify this for the audience. In a refrigerator, the condensation, condensing it from a gas to a liquid, that happens through pressure. Like you
Yeah,
have an engine or something,
there's
right? A
a
compressor.
compressor that compresses the gas into a liquid, and it makes it hot.
It makes it hot. On Earth, it's gravity.
On Earth, it's gravity.
So gravity compresses it, makes it hot, and it starts rising, and it cools down, and that's the refrigeration effect.
It's close to that, yeah. So the gravity compresses, it creates heat by itself. Yeah, just the process of pressure creates adiabatic heating. Yeah, and then you have this heat absorbing gases, yes, especially water vapor, yeah, that absorbs this energy, and it starts to float. Yeah, it has buoyancy, and it starts going up towards space. Yeah, because it's energy that wants to go to where it's more dispersed, as per the second law. Yeah, so you have this latent heat, which is a key process. Yeah, and that's how the Earth is the atmosphere is actually a giant refrigerator. Yeah.
What about this? I read somewhere that the sun has different frequency bands, and it doesn't actually get absorbed by the water molecules on the way down, but when
That's
the
right.
photons are trying to leave, that's when it gets trapped by the water molecules.
Well, yeah, that's mostly correct. Yeah, so everything's on a frequency spectrum, and there is absorption of infrared radiation. Yeah, and there's a slide about that coming up, I think. Yeah, but it's not trapped. It's not being trapped. Yeah, when you absorb energy like this, yeah, you're causing a refrigeration effect, not a heating effect. Yeah, that energy is being absorbed by these refrigerants. Yeah, which are energy absorbing gases, and that create the buoyancy and these convection cells, along with evaporation and condensation.
All right, next slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just want to bring back this thing about the metaphysics. Yeah, this is so important. Yeah, it's just such a basic thing. Yeah, so our fundamental ideas about the nature of the universe. Yeah, these are actually a matter of choice, and choose we must. Yeah, if you really can't escape it. Yeah, you have to choose between mysticism or reality. Yeah, making use of your own senses and your own mind, and trying to understand the nature of everything in the universe. Yeah, and I urge you to adopt to the belief, yeah, that everything in the universe is actually knowable, but you have to adopt this conviction up front. Yeah, it's metaphysics, epistemology, and then ethics. Yeah, if you don't adopt this a conviction up front, yeah, you risk corrupting yourself essentially. Yeah, so I'm promoting a religion, but it's not a religion. It's an actual philosophy. Yeah, religion is primitive philosophy, and I'm promoting a much more valid philosophy. Yeah, so it's a personal choice we each must make at our most fundamental and intimate level. Yeah, and look what's happened to those people. Yeah.
What's the significance of this picture?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is in London in the UK during one of the climate protests. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we see the effect of embracing the climate cult. Yeah, groupthink and religious mysticism.
Yeah, it's starting to get out of control. So many people are saying, you're taking. Oh, who was that? Greta Thunberg. You're stealing our future. You're killing us. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just driving my truck. Get
Yeah,
out of
well,
my way.
And the people who program this poor child, yeah, are getting her to exploit our vulnerability, our vulnerability to undeserved guilt. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
here we
More
go.
sophistry. Yeah. So here we go. Yeah. So yeah, this is the temperature history for the last since the end of the Little Ice Age. Yeah, since the, the end of the 17th century. Yeah, and yeah, ever since that time, it's in total the temperature has been going up, yeah, by a degree Celsius or two. Yeah, and on the blue curve on the bottom right there, you have yeah, the CO2 emissions from the Industrial Revolution. So in that kind of presentation, you can see that all of it is just, yeah, what I call a spurious correlation, yeah, or a meaningless coincidence.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and that's essentially what's happening. Yeah, that's essentially what's happening. Yeah, and you know, I put Karl Marx in there, and you know, and yeah, Karl Marx was definitely part of the anti-enlightenment. Yeah, but what most people won't believe is that Karl Marx was actually uh, inspired, yeah, and makes full use of the Christian religion, yeah, to promote his ideas, yeah. But instead of worshiping a mystical god of some kind, you worship the proletariat. Yeah? You exist for the sake of all the people, for the proletariat, and that, you know, you have to sacrifice yourself for the proletariat, yeah, rather than sacrifice yourself to the king and the mystical god. Yeah,
It was basically a distributed God, decentralized God.
pretty well type of thing. Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, but it's very Platonic. Yeah, if you understand Karl Marx, you can understand. Well, and if you know, especially if you know Plato, Plato is much more important for people to learn about. Yeah, forget about Marx, learn about Plato, and especially about Aristotle, and things start to become a lot more understandable.
Yeah, every time I read up on Plato, I get my blood pressure goes up.
Yeah,
Guy got
yeah,
so much suffering.
yeah. But that's the thing, though. But the thing, at least Plato wrote very clearly. Yeah, and but you know, when you read Plato and you understand what he's talking about, you know, you can see how, you know, he can be easily be radicalized into Marxism and other forms of counter enlightenment. Yeah, yeah. And the thing about Plato, he was a very smart guy. Yeah, just like a lot of modern day conservatives, a very smart, and he was probably a very good guy too. He probably had good intentions, but the reality is, good intentions aren't good enough. Yeah, you have to be very careful. On the topic of conservative, well, the one comment I want to make about this is I don't like to include Thomas Sowell as conservatives in the bad sense. Yeah, I think he's someone's very special. I believe, from what I can read and watched him talk about, he knows Plato and Aristotle extremely well, and he so sides with the right one of those two. Yeah, very explicitly. And I think one of the main reasons for that is that Sowell was a former Marxist. Yeah, and I think he figured out where and why he went wrong. Yeah, and there is an interview he does about the clash of ideas, and he talks about his own Aristotelian versus Platonic influences. So he's the right kind of conservative. Yeah. So somebody who wants to conserve the Enlightenment, yeah, late 18th century ideas about morality.
Can you this? I really like this slide. Can you explain what you mean that the conservatives they're an ineffective opposition?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was because a lot of them are religious. Yeah. So essentially, a lot of them are ruled by Plato. Yeah. They have this dual reality metaphysical worldview. Yeah. That there's an all powerful, all omniscient, omnipotent deity that you must obey. Yeah, and they want, essentially they're largely responsible for the mixed economy welfare state that we all exist in. Yeah, none of them. You know, if you really want to distinguish yourself from conservative politics, you have to attack this mixed economy welfare state ideology that we have. Yeah, we don't exist for the sake of others. Yeah, the whole concept of individual rights is about existing for your own sake. And existing for your own sake means practicing charity. People naturally want to help other people when they deserve that help. But when you make it so that the government does your charity for you, yeah, then you're creating a bottom up corruption. Yeah, and that's what we're experiencing today. This is why Trudeau Liberals still have a quarter of Canada's support. Yeah, it's this welfare state. It's not immigrants, but it's the welfare state. Yeah, and then the welfare state attracts people, because of free stuff. All the wrong kind of people because they get free stuff. Yeah, but the real evil is that you get good people or immigrants that get categorized as with the criminals. Yeah, and that's really wrong. Yeah, that's something I really strongly object to. I'm an immigrant. Your parents are probably immigrants, or you are maybe as well too. Yeah, and we have to be very extremely careful about that. Yeah, we moral categorization can only be applied to individuals only, not to whole groups of people. Yeah, but we can criticize ideas. Yeah, like Islam or Christianity or even Judaism. Yeah, or Plato. Yeah, those are ideas. Ideologies.
What about you use the phrase mixed economy? This is a phrase that's used by older people, like people the 40 and younger. They don't really use that. I feel like mixed economy is a euphemism for socialism. What does it mean to you?
Well, that's basically how Germany corrupted itself. Yeah, in all over Europe. Yeah, they started imposing taxes. Yeah, to provide welfare for people. Yeah, and as soon as the government gets involved in industry in any way, as soon as it starts to violate property rights, imposing taxation, yeah, under threat of fines or jail or other threats, you start having a mixed economy. Yeah, and it's these mixed economy welfare states that are that's corrupting society from the bottom up. Yeah, so
I just find that word mixed economy, you use that when you want socialism and you want the welfare state, but you don't want the stigma associated with admitting that.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but that's how a good country turns into a bad country. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Germany and Italy, and it's happening all over the West now, in the UK, Canada, Australia, USA. Yeah. So, I think mixed economy is a valid concept. Yeah, because it corresponds to reality. Yeah, we don't have capitalist free market economies anymore. Uh, all people, just because it's a big company, automatically it's evil, whether it did something good or not. Yeah, and nobody cares about the government interference. Yeah, the antitrust laws that get government involved in business. Yeah, and make businesses vulnerable to the whims and wishes of certain politicians. Yeah, and then they have to act. Then they have to act as an arm of the government. Yeah, which is what Facebook and other social media platforms did. Yeah, they were under threat of antitrust laws, so they had to obey the government. Yeah, and I think to a large degree the same applies to pharma. Now, there shouldn't be any government involvement in any business whatsoever. The only thing government should be concentrating on is individual rights. Yeah, people's rights are being protected. If their property rights are being protected, the rights of free speech, the rights of a free association, the rights to protest, the property rights, yeah, including patent rights. That's the only thing the government should be concerned about. Yeah,
And
that's what the law.
that's not the government, that's the court system and the rule of law that we
Well, the
establish
government the
ourselves.
government should comprise of the police, yeah, yeah, to prosecute and incarcerate criminals. It should have a judiciary, the courts, yeah, to apply the law, to resolve disputes and determine penalties and whatever, yeah, and the military. That's all the government should. That's all. Those are the only functions where you can use force in an ethical manner. You can't use physical force for anything else. You certainly can't use force to provide health care. Yeah, you end up with the socialized healthcare nightmare that I think we have in Canada, and it certainly exists here in Europe as well too. Yeah,
I always
you
look at
can't.
it like I'm using the word corporation, and if you look at it in business terms, so the judiciary, the courts, you could think of that as a business, but it's one where the government we're allowing the government to have exclusive monopoly over that business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you have to have a monopoly on the use of force. Yeah, but that monopoly has to exist in an ethical way. Yeah, so the problem reduces down to how do we define ethics? Yeah, how do we make it objective rather than subjective? Yeah, and that it has been a very difficult question. Yeah, it's taken 2,400 years to figure it out, but Ayn Rand figured it out. Yeah, and it's actually amazingly straightforward. Yeah. The standard of morality in this real world is life, yeah, and is only individual beings that are alive, yeah, that have a mind of their own, yeah. And so, in essence, morality is the realm of chosen values, yeah. And in order to have chosen values, you have to have the ability to choose. Your ability to choose has to be protected, and that's the essential role of individual rights. Yeah, the rights, yeah, written out in a Canadian charter, for example, yeah, which are pretty good. I think it needs a certain overhaul, but the essence of it was a major accomplishment. Likewise, in the American Bill of Rights, yeah, I'd say the main error there is that they did not make it explicit, yeah, that the rights respecting individual is the sovereign unit of value. Yeah, it was most certainly implied when they claim the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, that's rationally the essence of the morality of rational egoism. Yeah, so the morality of Aristotle. Yeah, but they never made it explicit. Because
Yeah,
they never made it explicit, yeah, it became vulnerable to corruption.
I,
Yeah, by
I agree
religion.
with that, and I think it was because of at the time they were probably a little bit more educated, or at least the founders that wrote it were, and they took it
Absolutely,
for granted. I always
most
joke that if
absolutely.
we do another like 1776 where we have another constitution, it has to have like the monopoly guy, with pictures and like Bazooka Joe. Like you gotta simplify it.
Yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but all of it is, it's absolutely true, and it's rational to assume that there's a link between morality and politics. Yeah, but you know, but the problem is our traditional uh, our traditional references to what morality means is completely wrong. It's actually totally evil.
So I don't know what time it is there, Gilles. If you want, you can speed up. This is albedo
Yeah.
going down, or what is this?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is about, yeah. So the chart on the top there is the Earth's albedo. Yeah. So you can see here that has been measured, over the last couple of decades, and there's measurements that go before this as well too, with the same trend, showing that the Earth's albedo is diminishing. Yeah, and this is possibly because of the reduced amount of pollution there is in the air. Yeah, there's less clouds, so there's more sun, more of that 1,360 watts of power coming into the earth, heating up the oceans and heating the land, and creating a gentle degree of warming. Yeah, a very beneficial blessing of warming during an ice age.
All right, next slide.
Yeah, more
Sophistry.
sophistry. Yeah, so yeah, the Planck. Yeah, so what I'm showing here are Planck curves. Yeah, and Planck was a very important scientist who successfully characterized the quantum nature of energy. Yeah, so basically, energy you have on the right hand side there, where it says Planck's law, you have these curves, and what this shows is the distribution of wavelengths of energy versus frequency for any given body. Yeah, so a sun emits a spectrum of energy, and you can measure it. Yeah, and from that spectrum, yeah, if you take that spectrum and if you calculate the surface area under it, yeah, if you do what's called a numerical integration, you can come up with the temperature of the body. Yeah, and that's known as the Stefan Boltzmann law. Yeah. So shown on the left here, this blue curve with these depressions here. You'll often see climate academics say, "Well, look at these Earth spectra here. And you see on the CO on the where the CO2 wavelengths are, you see absorption. They say that's proof of global warming." Yeah, but they're so fucking stupid. Yeah. Whenever you have a reduction in a Planck curve area like that, that's a cooling effect. Yeah, it's actually a friggin' refrigeration effect. Yeah, and when what you're seeing here is the effects of the convection and the evaporation condensation taking place.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
saw
make
this.
sense?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this slide was like it went way over my head. I tried to
yeah,
split this up, and I was like, you
yeah.
know what? I'm just going to bed.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. But yeah, when I went to college, I had to eat and drink this stuff all day long, every day, and I never realized back then how important it would be to me now to know this stuff.
So
Mm.
can you maybe just dumb it down for me again? What you said about the blue bar and the stupid
Yeah,
covidians.
yeah.
What
So
was that
on
about?
the left-hand side there, you see the blue. This is a spectral curve. Yeah. So what you're looking at here is wave frequency versus intensity. Yeah. So the Earth has a certain temperature and it's got radiation radiating across the spectrum. Yeah. And when we send satellites out in space and we measure the Earth's infrared spectrum across these wavelengths, we see these depressions, yeah, occurring where we know that CO2 and water absorbs infrared energy. Yeah, yeah, and the climate academics will tell you that this is proof of the greenhouse effect. Yeah, but it's absolute total bullshit. Yeah, this is proof of a refrigeration effect. Yeah, the opposite of a greenhouse effect. Yeah, so it's only natural for uh, for infrared energy to be absorbed by water vapor and other heat absorbing energy absorbing gases, yeah, such as CO2 and methane and water vapor. The thing is though with CO2, the quantities of it are so low and it absorbs such a little small amount of energy that it's totally insignificant.
It's
What matters
insignificant. Yeah.
what matters, yeah, and insignificant in its cooling effect. Yeah, it does absolutely no warming whatsoever. If it does anything, it aids in the refrigeration. What really matters is the water vapor.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the essence I wanted to say about that. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah, okay. Yeah. And this one, we broke it out down into a little bit of detail. But the main point I want to make here, yeah, is that refrigerants are energy absorbing media. Yeah. Yeah. That helps things go around. As total energy delivered from our hot sun transfers from hot to cold as per the laws of thermodynamics. Yeah, so people can go into this a little bit of detail, yeah, but there's no such thing as greenhouse gases. Yeah, energy absorbing gaseous media are actually refrigerants. We've got to change our vocabulary, get rid of this swear word called greenhouse gas and greenhouse gases. Yeah, they're
It,
actually refrigerants.
it's like how fossil fuels, they're actually hydrocarbons. Um, Greenhouse gases are actually refrigerants.
Greenhouse gases are actually refrigerants. Yeah. But there's significant element of truth that fossil fuels do originate from fossils, but yeah, that's another story. I don't want to get into that.
We'll leave it for the next one.
More
All right,
sophistry
we
again.
more sophistry.
Yeah, okay. Adiabatic heating. So you live out in BC, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you see the nice big mountains there, and you see scenes like this, yeah, with the snow-capped mountains and green valleys below, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So all of that is basically adiabatic heating, and adiabatic heating is simply the phenomena of when you compress a gas, it gets hot. The work that you put into compressing a gas is energy that gets transferred into kinetic energy of the gas molecules, making it hot. Yeah, and that's essentially what Earth's gravity does upon the atmosphere. Yeah, it creates atmospheric pressure and it increases as you get towards the surface, and it makes the surface warmer. Yeah, and the climate academics will tell you, claim, yeah, that this lapse rate, this temperature change with altitude, is because of plant food. Yeah, and it's utter bullshit. It's adiabatic heating.
But how much of it is because of the sun, uh, the water molecules absorbing the sun's rays, and how much of it is because of compression, because of gravity?
Well, see, the sun is delivering total energy, both the direct radiation energy and the energy required to evaporate and inflate the atmosphere against the force of gravity. Yeah, so the total temperature that we see is because of the total energy that's been delivered by the sun. Yeah, both the sum of the heat energy and the work energy. Yeah, and if you're in a desert region where it's very dry and there's no latent heat, yeah, that energy is a lot higher, and you have because you have a much more adiabatic heating. Now, when you get to a jungle region where it's humid and you get these refrigerants, yeah, absorbing energy that causes buoyancy and the convection cells, yeah, you get less adiabatic heating and it's significantly cooler.
And climate change is a complicated process.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's complicated, but it's knowable. Yeah, it's not insurmountable. Yeah, yeah, and they like to choose these really complex topics like climate change or what do epidemiology. Yeah, it's a very complicated topic as well too. Yeah, and because and they expect you to obey everything. They silence people who know who actually what they're talking about, and persuade you, gaslight you into doing things that you shouldn't do. Yeah, and that's the nature of the evil that we're confronting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good strategy because people
Mhm.
they can't just stop their full time job to go and research climate change.
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Yeah. Yeah. So so we just go into a little bit more detail here, but yeah,
Same thing.
basically everything that I already said. Yeah. Okay. And on this slide, I go into this is a mathematical derivation in the fine print. It's don't be intimidated by it. It's actually very very simple. Yeah, it's the application of enthalpy or total energy, yeah, which is the sum of heat plus work, and then we take the refrigerants into account. Yeah, the energy absorbing media, and when you do this, you can predict the adiabatic lapse rates. Yeah, so if you look at that chart on the bottom right hand side, you see the line that goes
Yeah.
past the cloud there into the pink area, and the line that goes to the right is a high adiabatic lapse rate or the dry lapse rate. So the amount of adiabatic heating when there's no refrigerants. Yeah, and this is what you see in desert regions. And then on the left, you have the wet lapse rate. Yeah, so the adiabatic heating when there's refrigerants in the atmosphere, such as in jungle regions, and it's significantly cooler. Yeah, and the above just is just a mathematical derivation of that, and it's actually a lot more straightforward than what it seems. Yeah, don't be intimidated by it.
I love your phraseology. Power producing apocalyptic plant food in the sky.
Yeah, but I've been fighting this for years, and I've been punished for it as well too in a big way, and I've only become more adamant. Yeah, and I've developed my skills in being able to explain this to people. Yeah, I hope I can get some feedback, and I hope hopefully people get something out of this. Yeah, heat, another thing. When everybody tells you that there's heat trapping or anything like that, you can know right away they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Yeah, heat is not is a process. Yeah, it's not a quantity. Yeah, it's a process of energy transfer, and these four main categories: conduction, convection, radiation, and absorption. All of them are relevant in climate science, and in each and every case, it's an energy transfer from where it's hot to where it's cold. Absolutely nothing else. Yeah. So as a result, yeah, we get the sun that shines upon the earth. Yeah, the little spectrograph, yeah, the visible light, very powerful sun upon one half sphere at a time that creates a response, this tiny little infrared response on the right. Yeah, and then we have convection and evaporation, condensation, and that all of that are processes of energy transfer from hot to cold. Yeah, as per the proper laws of thermodynamics. Yeah, and the
Long
climate
story
academic.
short, like the sun releases the same amount of energy. It hits the Earth. It increases the surface temperature of the Earth to 120 degrees. But then we have gases and refrigerants, and it distributes that energy.
It distributes that energy and shoves it back out to space, basically. Yeah, through for a very complicated set of processes, complicated but not insurmountable to understand.
And the reason that we have ice ages and periods where there's no ice age is either the strength of the sun increases, like solar flares, or we're closer to the sun, or we get more sunlight hitting the Earth, so less the
And
albedo of
possibly
the
another
cloud.
another possibility is that we lose atmosphere. Yeah, there's less atmosphere and there's less pressure.
How do we lose atmosphere?
Uh, if the Earth's magnetic field changes or gets weak, then and the solar wind blows it away, yeah, it makes it lighter. That'll make things cold. Yeah, as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So just the takeaway for the audience: this concept of greenhouse gas is absolute garbage.
it is absolutely. That's a good simple message. Yeah, I
Like
fully.
what you see is what you get. Whatever energy comes in, it's going to leave at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just more of the same thing. Yeah, heat is a process. It's not a quantity to be conserved. Yeah, heat is a freaking process. Yeah, and it's you need a bit of math skill to understand it, but it's not that complicated either. And it's kind of outlined here. Yeah. So whenever tells you something about heat trapping, yeah, in climate change, you can just immediately begin
Walk
to
away.
ignore them. Yeah, yeah,
Greenhouse gas theory. I guess we covered this.
yeah.
Wowzers. Yeah, I'm gonna let you take this one on your own.
Okay, well, yeah. So I think there's a simpler one, but I put a lot of text there. But what really matters here are these first three steps, and we've been through it a couple times already. Yeah, metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Everything else is, to politics and culture are an effect of those three main branches of philosophy. And we've been through this through a few times already. I think most people get it by now who've been watching this.
All right.
Yeah, first three steps. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you just laid it out here. Yeah, politics is based on these three other philosophical disciplines: metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. All of them are equally important to one another, I'll add. Yeah, yeah. On the theory of man's nature and of man's relationship to existence, it is only on these such a base that one can formulate a consistent political theory and achieve it in practice. And that's essentially what the American fathers accomplished. Yeah, but they didn't make it explicit enough, and it's something that we can fix. Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, the Monopoly guy. You just put a picture of Aristotle. Do some comic strips. It's the
yeah,
only
yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the basic idea, yeah, each individual human being is a sovereign unit of value. You and I each, especially those of us who think for ourselves, are the actual sovereign unit of value. And that's what all politics needs to take into account. That's how the Canadian Charter of Rights, they didn't weren't really quite aware of it at the time, but that's what the Canadian Charter of Rights accomplished, yeah, to a large degree. It can definitely be improved, but it was, it basically managed to put a foot in a closing door towards a re-enlightenment. Yeah, so we have to build on what it is, yeah, and make it better. Yeah, the morality of rational egoism should be top line. Things like property rights and self-defense rights, yeah, because the individual is a sovereign unit of value. The rights of the child, the default jurisdiction of parents have on children, and all of those things need to be spelled out, and they haven't been just yet. So those are the kind of things that we have to be thinking and talking about and trying to accomplish in the coming years and decades.
Yeah,
While
the
there's
that
still while there's still while we still have this ability to have some degree of free speech and free association. Yeah.
I was going to say that Ayn Rand online course I did made me realize how bad our education system really is. Like,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
heavy emphasis on the STEM fields, like physics, engineering, math, which
Yeah.
is good. You need them,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
no emphasis on philosophy.
Yeah. No, that's right. And it's straightforward. It's not that hard. Well, I think you're more skilled pedagogist than I am, but I don't think it would be that hard to incorporate, the essentials of Greek and Roman history. Yeah, which I learned nothing about. I had to learn it all by myself, especially
Uh,
when I moved here to Italy. Yeah, I learned it by myself.
Yeah, I found the biggest issue I had with high school, I'm just going to blast through the slide, was you get these teachers that they don't really want to be teachers. Like, I found it's almost like they were hungover. They come in, they're like, I don't want to teach this garbage about Rome. They just
Yeah.
read whatever's in the textbook, and you're not really excited.
No, I raised two kids, and one of them had major problems in school, and she's a smart kid, but the school, well, yeah. So fortunately, she survived it. I helped her survive it, but the school was destroying her. I pulled her out of school, and we started doing homeschooling, and wow, I was amazed how much I loved this homeschooling. Yeah, the one thing I regret about my homeschooling experience was that I didn't discover it sooner than I did. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I totally enjoyed it. My kid enjoyed it, and she survived. Yeah,
I had the opposite experience. I wasn't homeschooled, but my dad would every night he would teach me math. My dad
right.
had it in his head that he was this brilliant mathematician, and the
Yeah,
man was a tyrant. Like, he'd ask me a question and I got it wrong. he starts screaming at me. He's like, "Get out of my room!" It was like it was child abuse, I tell you.
No, no, my daughter, she was terrified of math. Yeah, she was totally intimidated by it. But when I started teaching her, she aced it. Yeah, the advanced calculus course, she was acing it. We had so much fun doing it. Yeah.
Do we have anything to go
You know,
over here?
this is my closing slide. Yeah. So yeah, re-enlightenment is about letting the sun shine into your life. Yeah. The sun is real and it's powerful and it's warm. I really get to experience it here in Italy a lot, and I absolutely love it. And hopefully, all of you can do something similar. Yeah, make use of your own mind. Be strong. Be assertive. Yeah, don't take any shit. Yeah, and yeah, let the sun shine into your life. It's the only life that you have.
I guess that's all right. We're all done. We
We're
can
all
get out of
done.
that. That was an epic climate change refrigeration course.
Yeah, so you have an idea why the whole climate change dogma is just that, is a dogma, and its motivations for it, how dangerous it is, but how easy it can be for us to defeat it, to kill it. Yeah.
No, it's
Mm.
yeah, we're up against a lot of challenges, and climate change is
Yeah,
one of
right.
them.
Yeah, that's right. But you know, while we're able to speak to each other and disseminate ideas, we have a fighting chance.
Definitely. And Gilles, I wanted to thank you. This was a really good episode, 2.5 hours,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a lot of good
absolutely.
feedback from the audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it as well too.
All right. Until we tackle the next serious issue.
Okay. All
Bye.
right. Bye. Take care.